To open a ag security hearing for 7 o'clock. It will be very brief prior to opening our township meeting. And it's in regards to the Robb Farm out here being accepted into ag security. As normal, first things, there's questions to be asked. That Helen has some information, I'll ask several of them. Okay? One of them being, was it duly advertised out?
Yes.
Yes, sir. And it's been duly posted?
Yes.
Yes, okay, so it's been posted. You have other information there I asked to put out there before we,
Okay. Yes, we're, this is
the
for,
acreage, parcel number, et cetera.
you want parcel number or name?
Well, no, the acreage, what you need.
Okay, this is 53.255 acres. It's on Hoffman Road, the old Catholic Diocese property. That's what's being asked to be added to the ag security. We have Penn Township Planning Commission and Perry County Planning Commission recommendations for you also to review. That's it?
That's it,
That's it.
okay. Everybody has necessary information on it. We've been through this. It's a formality, or it is part of it for the board to vote upon, accept them into the ag security motion. Do I hear a motion to allow this to be added to our ag security?
I make the motion that we add the agricultural security tax parcel number 210,104-00-037.000, which is in parentheses the Robb Farm or property, that we submit that and accept it into the security.
Do I hear a second?
I second the motion.
Motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. So ordered. I
Close
Move.
hearing.
that we close this hearing.
I second the motion.
Motion-
Did you say?
Yeah, I moved. Second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. This hearing is closed. Call the meeting to order for the township. We will stand, pledge allegiance in a moment of silence. Aye.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, there was no executive sessions held. And at this time, we'll have recognition of the visitors that's on the agenda.
Well, Senator Teplitz, don't see him. Then it's Debbie Browse.
That's me.
Your turn?
What do I do? Do I stand? No.
Yeah.
Okay, I live on 10 Morning Dove Way, and we have an issue with some overgrown brush in a lot adjacent to us. For years, it's been unattended to. I have pictures. Michael Frisch owns the property next to us, and it's not taken care of. It's not mowed. Weeds are very high. Want to know who is responsible for the property. So I don't know.
Just bring it up to Joe, though.
Pictures are fine. Henry, this is the area where I had mowed for 4 years. And then he had me cited for mowing it.
Remember when?
Do you remember when he had me cited?
Yes.
Okay, and that is thrown up high. And this is all, I mean, he just doesn't tend to it at all. So I don't know who is responsible for, I mean, coming around Morning Dove, it is a mess.
Yeah.
that whole corner is a mess.
Yes. A little history to this, Brian, these people used to mow this and kept it nice. And because, yes.
That was
Ms.
us.
Kraus, because they mowed that little lawnmower width up there, they took them and cited you, had you fined, and drug you through the court system in order to, and the results of that was on
It was dismissed.
it was dismissed, that's correct. So it was dismissed because of that. And they keep next to it mowed, but that piece there where they got the fence up, they don't. I guess sadly to say, there's no ordinance for grass or anything like that that I know of in a township. There was some tried to be adopted for it, you know what I'm saying? It's in a rural area, it's a tough issue if the landowner doesn't want to. It's no different than going in and out my place where I mow the edges of my road back and try to keep it nice so it looks decent, and I mow them back.
The fence,
Yeah.
Henry, the fence is all
Yeah, all down.
broken down, but now on their area, where you, I mean, they're keeping their fence nice and
Yeah.
they're keeping everything mowed around their area,
And I don't
but not back Morning Dove Way.
I don't think that we have anything there that we can cite them for not doing that. Clifford? No, not like within,
I mean, the weeds, I mean, they're trees now.
We don't have an ordinance that covers cutting your grass or cutting your weeds
So they can cite me.
for trespass, I believe, is what he
They
had to
gave
cite for.
me, they asked me to cut their grass for 4 years, and I
Mhm.
cut their grass.
Mhm.
And then 9 days after my son passed away, they had the state police cite me, and then they're not responsible for cutting.
There isn't a township ordinance that covers it now.
Wow. Wow.
What part of the township is supposed to be cut?
Yeah, what part of the township then?
There isn't an ordinance that covers it at all.
The township doesn't even have to, right by the road. I mean, the weeds are this high, right by the road.
Is it causing a view obstruction
Oh,
for
you
traffic?
can't even see our house.
And if it's causing a view obstruction for traffic, like if there's a road that comes into it and traffic can't see right or left, then it has to be cut, so there's not an obstruction. But if there's no obstruction of the traffic, it's not covered. There's no ordinance that says you have to mow your grass 3 times a month, or you have to mow it when it gets to such and such a height.
But is it from the center of the road back? Is it 15 or 25 feet?
16 and a half, I think, in there. I think that's a 33-foot right away through that development, or is it more?
I think it's only
We've
30, but I have
cut
to
the
check.
Schumacher and the stuff back as far as we were allowed to one time without getting charged for trespassing as it was. I will admit, yes, the grass and stuff along the township road there.
Where's your,
No,
Henry,
their boundary.
where is theirs? Where is their boundary? Where's their land?
Frisch's.
Your Frisch's land.
Well, they own, like everybody else, straight out to, you'll find that the dividing line of those properties are probably out to the middle of the street, then minus the township right of way. It's the same way that all the township roads going back through there. People own them. And you pay taxes on that road. Township has the right of way to it. So whatever the width of the township is, we can go back in there and cut back. And we have cut those Schumacher and stuff back several times to the full width of that.
Well, where our pins are, on
Yeah.
our property, can you come in and all the way back Morning Dove Way, where the corner is? Can you
Yes.
cut all the way around?
Pin to pin.
Pin to
Pin
pin,
to
all the
pin.
way around?
If our right of way extends over to that, which I think it does.
Because it's this high.
And I'll admit that around the bend there, right now, it needs trim. And we've got, go ahead,
That road's off center, you know that.
Al,
I mean, it's way off center.
way off center, like so many of them. We name you a lot of them that way.
Yeah.
We could get down there, we're finishing up out here in Linton Hill, And that, and the sight distance at the end of faculty out here is one of the things we'll be working on Friday. We'll cut back to what we're allowed there, and the others becomes a matter, I believe, between you and the neighbor.
The measurement is 50 to 50 pin to pin from one property to the other across.
Okay, that's a 50-foot right of way through there.
Yeah.
That one's gonna take a look at.
I'm doing that.
Yeah. So we can go 25 from the
It's
center of the
50, yeah.
road.
You got it, you got
I think that's what it is.
it, you got it.
Some of them.
50,
Huh?
50.
It's a 50-foot right of way. Okay, so we can go 25 from the center, Mr. Brown,
Okay,
and cut back.
so then, from then on, he doesn't have to do a thing,
No,
not a thing. And that brush, he doesn't have to do anything.
nothing I know of.
Can I put a fence up? I mean, is there any, what kind of ordinance would there be?
Sure, you can put a fence up. You're allowed to put a fence up.
It's regulated under the zoning ordinance for a fence.
Pardon me?
It's regulated under the zoning ordinance for a fence,
Okay,
yeah. So you gotta put a permit in,
Mhm.
and it can only be so high in front of the property, in front of the house, and so high on the sides and rears.
okay.
I-
Do you have those, like?
I can
okay.
get that for you tomorrow.
Okay. All right. And Henry, you say that, like, after you're done with Linton Hill? you'll be-
We should be finishing up back there tomorrow and prep for the new road. And Friday, I already talked, I had a call come in for out here at the end of faculty that there's some weeds there, there's sight distances. So I got a list of those that we've been trying to take care of. One of them, I haven't ignored that down there, just trying to get some other things done.
So you can go 25 feet then?
Yeah, we can go 25 feet.
And you know behind Chuck Oak's mailbox, and you know for
Yeah.
a fact, we kept that mowed,
Kept that all mowed and
Beautiful.
nice in there, yep.
for years and years and years.
And that got to be quite a few,
Yeah,
over nothing. I'm sorry for you.
yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Okay,
Okay, that's, before we go on with the visitors, go ahead. There's your pictures.
Thank you.
I talked to Solicitor Wagner about 4 o'clock this afternoon and previously. And he felt that it was necessary what I'm going to say and what I'm going to do. And he supports me 100% because we've had a lot of conversation about this particular issue. You're going to have to bear with me emotionally on this. At the Sussex Centennial, I was down in the historic building, sitting down there trying to enjoy myself. The wife was there, I had some antiquities in there. And I saw my son and my family come in with a long face. And I saw my daughter-in-law pull my wife off to the side, and then I saw my wife with a long face. What took place outside was an individual that walked up to my son and said, "Is it truth or rumor? I understand your dad missed 2 township meetings because he has cancer." Now my son came in and asked me if I was hiding something from him. And my wife wanted to know whether I was hiding something from him. But the reason I wasn't at that township meeting was my son lost his mother that day. Both my sons lost a mother, my ex-wife. And I had a lot of respect for the life that she gave those two and the enjoyment I got from them and the grandchildren besides. And a grandmother, 90 years old, in the Carlisle Church of God, lost a daughter. And then we put something out like this, that I missed a township meeting because I got cancer. And the same 2 months later when I missed another meeting, family problems such as that I take and hold pretty close to my heart. put tears and grandkids and doubt in my family's, didn't hurt me too much. They sure done some damage to my family. And I talked to Rich about just extensively where the boundaries of the law are when people do that, when you bear false witness against other people and that type of nature. If they'd have walked up and asked me, it'd have been dismissed and walked away. But no, they had to drag the township in it. That I was not at a township meeting and missed because of that. That's why my son's sitting here tonight to verify that this took place. Now I left that go and did not go back up to the Sesquicentennial the next day because I was so upset about it. And later on that day, I chose to mow grass to try to get my mind off of it. And I couldn't keep my mind off it no more, so I called the individual that talked to him. And I wanted to know where he got his information. And there was a refusal for that, a little bit of an argument for a long-time friend that I'd known a long time. And wouldn't divulge nothing, and I threatened to sue. And I would have sued him for that information. I may not got it, may not won the case, but I assure you, someone was going to pay some money, by golly, to withhold it. And at that person yielded the individual's name that he got his information from. And for the sake of the minutes, and then what I have to say that gets in the minutes, the first person that took that message to my son was Carl Fox. And Carl Fox yielded the name of Lester Nace. That's where he got his information. You know, nobody owes me an apology, but I sure wish they'd make amends with my family. Yes, Carl.
Mr. Bowman, I think I told you the day that you called me that it was a major mistake on my part, and I apologized to you at that time.
Not me, them.
Okay,
You don't owe me an apology, Carl.
okay. The mistake that I made was I did not ask that question to you. I asked it to your son. And Jeff, for that I'm sorry. And I hope that it does not hinder the relationship that we as a group of friends have had for all these years. And as I said, I apologize for that. That's basically all that I can say. It is a sad situation. It was a major mistake on my part to not have asked you that question directly and even pose that to Jeff. And as I said, I apologize to Jeff and the rest of your family for having done that.
That still doesn't answer the question that I had for Mr. Nace, by golly, is where he got his information.
And I don't know, because that was never discussed.
That you can be assured, Carl, I'm going to push for it. Solicitor Wagner supports me in that endeavor 100%.
And I do have one other comment, Henry. Since that day, I have not talked to anyone about that situation.
And I believe that, Carl. I believe that. I'll take your word on that. Well, I told you I was going to be here tonight, and I thought you ought to be here because I was bringing it out here. I don't want to be blamed for not coming to a township meeting when the real cause is now known why.
I guess it was sort of posed to me, maybe not as a question, not a statement, whether I knew anything about you possibly having cancer. And I said, I know nothing.
But to add to it, that's why I missed 2 township meetings.
I didn't add that to it.
Sure you did.
Yes, you did.
I did? Well,
Yeah, you
that,
said
okay,
right to
that
my
was
face.
what apparently
I was-
prompted Did I just brought?
Is this township business? I'm sorry, this is becoming a personal conversation.
No, it's not. It
You've been
needs-
clear about why you
It needs
weren't
to be straightened
here.
matter out to the township.
You've done
that-
so.
And I've
Please.
said so,
Let's move
okay?
on. This is inappropriate.
Well, you could say it's inappropriate, but it's mighty important to me and my family. And if you don't care, well, you evidently don't. You don't see the feelings that I have for them.
I
I'm
don't question your
sorry.
feelings for your family.
I'm sorry.
But this is a township meeting.
And it was a township matter. It became a township matter when you drug the township into it. And Solicitor Wagner supports
No,
that.
I have
Not
nothing to do
you.
with this
I
situation.
said it became a
Let's
matter.
move on.
That's why it's here. I thank you for your attendance, Carl. And as before as last month's meeting, we get many of these issues that come up, and I'm going to address them before we get into the regular meeting, as always, to defend this township and some of the things that take place. I take a look at the issue that was put in there by this news reporter over here. And if you read it, there ain't a limit of truth to anything that he put in there. Linton Hill to be paved next year? No, this year. And when he talked to me afterwards in here, and the way he puts it in here for the use of my equipment, I'd like anybody to tell me just where and how much I've used my machinery, by golly, as a cost savings in this township. The cost savings to the township, when I take my backhoe out there, is when I'm paving a new road to help out a resident that I'm not allowed to be on with the township equipment or township labor, to help fix a road up. And then I take it home. And a good example of that is cost savings. That's the part that makes it look like cost savings. I do this all the time, but I don't. I couldn't afford to do it all the time. The cost savings took place when we done Firehouse down there, and Bob Johnson asked me to dig a ditch around back down there to help get drainage out there and whatnot. And I volunteered that backhoe, and I dug that ditch with Bob. And the cost savings was to the firehouse, and the expense was all to Henry Home. No cost savings to this township at all by me doing that. And I can name you others where I've done that. That's the reason why, and that's misinterpreted and put in the paper wrong. And then you put it in here and make it look like I decide whether I want to stay or not. Let's get that straight. I do not make that decision. Some of those questions were asked, and I said to you at the end of the meeting, my health, I had people say to me, gee, Henry, afterwards, they're just waiting for you to die. Is there something wrong? Well, I said, nobody understood the question that came at me that night. I did, and I even told you that right here when Mr. Peters was sitting here after the meeting. You didn't even understand the questions that was put out there. And the proposal that I have at the end of the year will be a proposal, not for a job, not to stay. I don't have that right. But a proposal that will give a full turnover to this township, to the next board, with all the necessary information and financial status that they need. That's the turnover. That's my offer. To make that as smooth as anything else, not an offer to stay. If I'm asked for help, or they want me to do a road contract or something which only takes about 4 hours to do, I would do that because it's a cost saving. Max, done them in cost, I know what they cost. And I know what some of those costs are. I know the first year I came in 2004, we had a $100,000 cost overrun on a road project. We've never had that since. So some of those issues that are on there, I just want to bring them out, that they're there. I could go on and on with it. I do have one other thing that I want to bring forward. I did call Walters, CC, on the porta potty down there and found out that that was ordered on the 15th by a member of the church, delivered on the 16th. And yes, Richard Pickles happened to stop by there the day it was being delivered. and he asked a question or had discussion with them in there. He just stopped in for a friendly visit and wanted to know whether it was being put there for the church breakfast for 2 weeks from them. And it looked like Henry Holman put that in there for this church breakfast, which isn't my church breakfast. It's the council church in Duncan that's had this for over 42, 43 years. And I use that facility down there so that they don't lose one member down there. That church per se does not participate in it, but I hold it there in the name of the church. And so I didn't put that there. They informed me who pays for it, who ordered it, and the whole 9 yards. So they're paying for it, and they finally got their necessary
Yes.
permits by golly for that there. I could go on with a lot of other things here, but I'm not going to. And one more time, the heartache that was caused to me because of this and my family is probably unknown to an awful lot of people. Recognition of the visitors, Helen.
Mr. Browse? Have anything else?
No, I don't.
Okay. Cece?
Yes, actually, I do. I would sort of like to echo something that Henry already said, address this to Luke. I was very disappointed when I read the article as well because, as always, my policy has been don't talk to the reporters because they don't print what you say. And once again, you have proved me right. I couldn't believe when I read this. I was asked questions by someone else about this, and that's how I discovered the falseness of the article. So I'm very disappointed in the news coverage. It's nice to have news coverage, but it's a shame that it can't be truthful. Helen, if you have your papers there with the widths of the roads, the right-of-ways,
Mhm.
what is the right-of-way on Schoolhouse? So I always thought that was 17 and a half feet from the center. That was a 35, I thought that was a 35-foot road.
No, it'd be a 33,
33, I believe.
Schoolhouse. Let me see here. 33 all the way down there. It's 33,
33 feet.
yes.
16 and a half in the center.
Okay, thank you. That's encouraging. I was also encouraged to hear that Litton Hill will be wrapping up. Maybe we're moving closer to Schoolhouse Road project. Because I had 2 independent contractors come and look at that for the time frame that would be necessary. They've both been equipment operators for nearly 40 years. And didn't think that it would take more than 2 days, even hitting rock. So that was kind of encouraging to know that it's not such a major project in someone else's eyes. I'm not an equipment operator, but hearing from 2 separate ones, that kind of was encouraging to me. The other thing, I'd like to know what the status is on Edkin. I see he's moving RVs out, apparently selling them, but as fast as he sells them, he moves others back in to sell. So what's the status on him?
Helen, give them all the information. We followed up on that, CC, it's all there.
Okay. All the way back with the permits and everything?
Is that?
Permits and non-conforming use and all that good stuff?
Well, yeah, tell them we got the letter from,
Okay.
from
Lenny.
to verify what we took a look at, what we found on that.
Okay.
Okay?
Back in, what is this, 2002, Mr. Egan got a permit for a garage that was supposed to be a private storage building, not for commercial use, gain, or profit. Okay? When zoning came in, he put in a nonconformist registration with a letter from his solicitor of, let's see, where is it here? He says he's already owns the property. The property is and has for some time prior to zoning been used as a warehouse, private auto sales storage. And there was a drawing attached with that. Mr. Madden gave him the non-conforming use. With the certificate of occupancy back in 2002, it said that any change of use will require the owner to submit a land development plan to the township and retain a change of occupancy. We sent this to Lenny and asked him his comments on this. Oh gosh, this thing's everywhere. Appears to have been issued in private warehouse, self-storage factory. Okay. He is saying that, he cited section 1802.1 zoning permits, that he needs to have a zoning permit prior to the issuance of any building permits and all for construction, erection, alteration of any of that, and a change of use. He reviewed the 2002 zoning, I'm sorry, the 2004 zoning permit, what was this? 2004 nonconformance. Registration appears to have been issued for the use of a private warehouse, auto sales, and storage facility. And then he goes on to say the certificate of occupancy indicates that the building has no electric, water, or sewer. Any of these upgrades would be a just cause to require a land development plan along with a DEP sewage planning approval. The determination of whether or not the certificate of occupancy holds any ground for the requirement of a land development plan prior to the zoning ordinance should be deferred to Township Legal Counsel. We cannot talk to Rich because Rich says he is Mr. Edkins' attorney. So we need another attorney to advise us on the land development plan portion. And that's where it stands right now.
Okay, I'm confused on the non-conforming
Forming.
use. Because if it's
The
If it's been for private storage all along, when did it change that he would want, what does he want that it's non-conforming?
Well, he put the nonconformance in, that it is to be used as a warehouse / private auto sales storage. Private, meaning they're his own vehicles.
Right.
This is only as far as I know, that the RVs are not his.
Right.
Am I correct on that?
Yeah, they're not.
Okay. Therefore, it's now not being used as a private sales. It's being used as, it would be labeled under commercial sales.
And if he was to change anything that he had before CC, it's right in those permits of the non-conformance use.
Where he would have to put in a land
That
development
he'd have to put a
plan.
land
Right.
development
And all
land in,
that.
and that's what we found out, and that upholds, that's the way it is. So what he's doing now, he's in violation of not having a land development plan.
Right.
Mhm.
But from what you read there, that was in 2004,
That's when, yeah, right after zoning came in?
that he applied for a non-conforming use?
Yes. Because the original permit,
That's what I'm asking.
yes, the 2002 permit says it's a storage building only. No sales,
Right.
yeah.
But
That's-
he didn't put the trailers in there in 2004.
I understand, but this is the history of it.
Where's the correspondence from 2004 when you were going after him for having the private sales out front?
We were investigating whether he was doing, whether he had a license to do sales.
Right.
And at that time, I'm trying to think
Which is
which company.
probably when he submitted the non-conforming because.
No,
you
that
were
was later.
questioning that.
That was later.
Okay.
The nonconformance came first, and then the other sales. You're allowed to sell 5 cars a year without having a sales license. Anything other than that, you have to have a sales license. That's what we were looking for at that time.
In 2004.
Later than that. I don't know the top exact year off my head. I think that was
There should be
6,
another
7?
series of paperwork.
Yeah,
I'll have to look
there's-
that up.
There's like a hole in the middle here. I don't understand.
Well, what came up when we were checking on the sales, he was allowed to sell his own personal cars at 5 a year.
Okay, so, but now fast forwarding to what he has there, we don't know what to do with what he's doing, basically.
Our opinion, and we have to confirm this with the solicitor, a solicitor,
A solicitor.
that being that he's now selling someone else's cars, he has to put a land development plan in, get a change of use zoning permit. land development, change of use, there's no building permits involved. With the land development as a, for want of another word, commercial sales, you'd have to have the sewer and water, I'm assuming. That would be, I guess, under the land development plan.
I think so.
Which means then he'd have to get a permit, put all that in the building and all that good stuff. We have to find out from legal counsel if we can enforce him getting the land development plan. As far as the commercial sales now, I'm looking at you, Cliff, for help.
Well, actually, he's not doing the sales. All those trailers belong to Marysville Motors. He's putting them on the lot for Marysville Motors. I don't know what kind of agreement him and Marysville Motors have, but they are actually the ones that are selling those vehicles.
But they're not his,
They are not his.
so therefore it's commercial.
Correct.
Doesn't matter who they belong to.
Right.
They don't belong to him, so therefore the 5 sales a year.
Well, that
The
doesn't
fun-
come into play because he's not selling.
Exactly, well, but the thing about it is that it's being used as a property to sell.
Correct.
So it's a commercial sales property, which is not zoned for it.
Correct.
Is the answer. We need the attorney to confirm that.
Yeah.
Yes,
But that's pretty much a nut in the shell, that we need to get him a solicitor to.
a solicitor, not
A-
ours.
No, a solicitor, correct. So I guess we make a motion for Helen to bring us a list of solicitors, and we can go ahead and pick from that list and.
Okay, I can do that. When I talked to Rich tonight, when he told me he might not come here, I started to talk to this about him, but as soon as I said the name, he stopped me.
Yeah.
He suggested Mr. Shadow, Dennis Shadow. He's on the zoning hearing board. He's also the authorities solicitor. But I can easily get you other names.
Yeah, I would like at least a list of 3
Okay.
or 4 individuals that we can select from.
No problem. I'll get you
So
that.
what's gonna happen in the meantime?
Do we
Keep
have a-
selling?
do
Can we
have a-
stop them?
Do we have a right to put a cease and disorder in until a decision's made?
That would be something for the attorney to decide.
Okay.
It'd be a temporary cease and disorder, but yes.
Cease and desist, you mean?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. I don't know that answer. How hard would it be to enforce that?
Without the attorney reviewing it and saying that, yes, he needs a new plan,
Mm-hmm,
until that gets done, we don't have a leg to stand on.
okay.
Once the attorney says, yes, he needs to get a new land usage plan, then we have a leg to stand.
Then we can send a letter out and do all that, okay.
Saying he has to get a new plan in order to continue what he's doing, and what he's doing has to stop.
Okay,
Why don't you just ask him to remove the vehicles from the lot?
That was done.
Then why don't we enforce it?
Because we have to wait to the attorney to give us permission to do that.
I've asked this question before, and I really hate to bring it up again, and I'm not looking for an answer, but I'm just throwing it out there. Why do we have rules and ordinances and things if we can't enforce them? It's so frustrating. I look at one every single day and I just get furious. I can't understand, I just can't understand why we can't enforce the rules and the laws that we have. That's all I have to say for now.
Cece, I will answer that in some respect. I can name you, I don't know how many at the present time where you cite them. They pay the fine, gives them 30 days. They don't do it, we cite them again. You go back before the district justice, gives them another 30 days, promises to do it, pays the fine.
Why does he throw them into jail?
Well, we don't have the authority to do that, I wish we could. And some of these things would be nice if we could snap our fingers and we enforce them. But there's other things that get involved. You gotta be careful where you set yourself up for a good lawsuit. And I just wish the ordinances are there, they can be enforced. Unfortunately, so many of them take so long to do. And that's sorry, that's our system, that's the way it is. And
Every time an individual wants to do something, we gotta get permits out the yin-yang.
And that is correct. Those that want to comply are the ones that always feel that they're being unjustifiably picked on, when those that are willing to defy the law will do it constantly and constantly, and then you need the support of the law to make those decisions to stop it.
Well, why not keep raising the fines that you put on them? You know, if you don't pay it within, do whatever you're supposed to do within 30 days, it doubles. The next time it doubles again. Make it so that it is going to make it harder for them not to comply. Because, you know, it does get frustrating when you see the same thing, like Cece said. You see the same thing daily, and it's, you know, it gets a
I'll let
little
Cliff
annoying.
answer that, give you an example of how far we took them until it finally got to the point where they said, well, you're gonna pay that fine every day. And then finally the person complied. If you don't pay it then you're going to jail. But that takes not from this department or this board of supervisors, that takes your judicial system. Am I not correct, Clifford?
You are, and if you like, I can give my report right now on what we're doing with codes, since it's gonna answer some of the questions.
Sure, but you may answer right up front.
Some of the codes issues that we've dealt with in the last month, if there's anyone here from Susquehanna Hill Road, they'll know Mr. Blumenstein at 29 Susquehanna Hill. I've been dealing with Mr. Blumenstein now for 2 years. We ended up in court last Thursday. He was cited for 3 violations of the township property nuisance ordinance. He came into court and decided that during the court hearing he was having a heart attack. So the judge decided that since he was having a medical emergency, we needed to continue the hearing. But even as he was being taken away by his wife to the hospital, he kept saying to the judge, I'm going to plead guilty, I'm going to plead guilty, I'm going to get this cleaned up. So next month I go back again with Mr. Blumenstein for the same 3 violations that I keep going back and back and back. Another individual that just got cited is the Quayles family out at 12 Rump Road. I've been citing them over and over and over and over again. They pay their fines. Matt and his mom, they pay their fines. I now have a court hearing with them on October 1st. And he's going to come up with all kinds of excuses why he can't get the property repaired. But this will be the first hearing that I will be having with the Quayles. I've never had a hearing with them. They've always pled guilty. So he's never been in front of the judge to get the township side of the story. The only gentleman so far that I've ended up in front of the judge with is Mr. Sminky, the man with the lawnmowers down in Perdix around the church. I was citing Mr. Sminky over and over, and he was paying him and paying him and paying him. And finally he decided he was going to stop paying him, he was going to have a hearing. We had a hearing, the judge found him guilty, fined him the max, which was $300, told him he had 7 days to clean up the lot, told me that on the 8th day I am to go back to the property and review it, and if it's not to my satisfaction, I am to cite him on the 8th day, the 9th day, the 10th day, the 11th day, the 12th day, until he gets it cleaned up. On the 6th day, Mr. Sminky cleaned it up. I'm hoping that I have the same luck with Mr. Blumenstein and the Quayles. But we will see. And while I'm at it, there's a couple other ongoing codes things that we're looking at. One is 2 Creek Road. A gentleman has moved into a garage there where there's no septic or wastewater hookup. I spoke to him last week. He assured me he was going to come in and fill out the proper paperwork to get this done. I stopped back yesterday because he had not come in, and now the place is vacant. I stopped back today, the place is vacant. So I don't know if he's moved out, I don't know if he's just staying away for a while, but he is on my radar. Another place is 69 Main Street, right down around the corner here. That was placarded again. I placarded it last year. They cleaned it up somewhat, but now it's back to being the pigsty that it is. It was placarded again. In 10 days, I'll go back. If it's not cleaned up, I'll issue citations and we'll start that process all over. 1451 and 1610 State Road I'm working on. That's Dino's and the old Sitco. They are pretty much collapsing into themselves. And I'm working on getting the owner of that property to answer for it. One of the problems I'm going to have with him is he was just disbarred and he's filing for bankruptcy. So I could end up in a bankruptcy court with him on this. The final property that is actively on our radar is 1129 State Road. That gentleman was contacted, he came in and he cleaned up the property and he gutted it, but he actually went too far. He gutted the place down to the rafters and he shouldn't have done that. So now we're moving on him to come back and build the place back to where it should be. So those are the codes issues right now that we're dealing with. And we do cite, and when I say we, it's me, I'm the one that handles the codes. I do cite these people, and it is a long, tedious process. But I will say, if I can get the people to ask for a hearing and get to show the judge what is actually going on at the property, he does work with the township. He gives them the max fines, he gives them 10 days to clean it up, and if they don't, he tells me, you know, every day, go back and cite them. Actually, Mr. Bloomstein was picked up on warrants because he didn't answer his codes. He spent 4 days out of Perry County Prison. So, they do go to jail.
Captain, real quick here, who sets the fees or these fines?
The fees are listed in the ordinance. They're sliding scale, and the max is $300, but so that gives the district judge the authority to go anywhere from $1 to $300.
So it's up to us to change those fines and costs, or those fees for whatever.
Well, we're kind of at the max with $300, because after we go above that, we're now coming out of the summary range.
Okay, all right. So it's still legislated by the state?
Yes.
Okay. From going from misdemeanor to a summary to whatever. Okay.
Yeah, if we go any higher, what happens then is we can't take it to the magistrate anymore. Now we have to go into New Bloomfield to take them in.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, while we're still on here, I never got a chance to answer Cece. Cece, I'd be willing to make a motion here tonight that you bring your contractor in that can do that in 2 days, because I'll pay for that 2 days' work for him out of my budget. Because I cannot dig across your driveway, put a catch basin in there, and complete that down there, what needs to be done, and dig that down there in 2 days. And it would be a bargain for this township for someone to put that in down there in 2 days' time, according to what was promised to be put in and what needs to be put in. He may not know the full scale of it, but I would be willing to make a motion tonight here to see if it gets approved by the supervisors. Bring that contractor in that's willing to do it in 2 days.
Keep in mind the spending limits, on what
What's
needs,
that?
the spending limits that need for bidding and quotes.
That's right.
Okay, so
And-
depending on
and
what
I'd
the
like-
price is
Two days worth of work can't be too much. We'll see.
$10,999.
Yeah, that's what I'm
And
saying.
below, we don't need quotes.
I can do it for less money than that, but I can't do it in that time frame.
So if the township is going to pay for it out of your budget, then we should actually advertise.
It depends, if we could get a quote,
A quote.
an estimate, we could see where it's gonna come in at, whether it would be above the limit, whether we got to get 3 quotes
No,
or
it
have to
be-
bid or something.
Have to be a scope of work wrote for it.
Correct, exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm. And if he's willing to use the pipe we've already bought for it, it's here.
Just wanted to remind you of that little money thing.
I understand that, and I'm taking a look at what I see it would cost to
Yeah,
do that.
Well, I make a motion that we go ahead and get the quotes from the two contractors CC has contacted. Let those numbers come back before the board for us to make a decision from there.
Okay, she'll have to have a
A scope of work.
a scope of work, yes.
Are you going to drop that up?
I will do that.
Okay.
Will the construction have to be to township specifications?
That's the
What?
scope of work.
Hmm?
That's a-
That'll be in the scope of work.
That'll be in the scope of work.
It's not,
And
okay.
approved
So
by
he'll
her.
put in there the backfill and the blacktop, and that's all part of the scope, I would assume.
And then approved by our engineer, correct?
Well, whatever the ordinance requires. I mean, subdivision land development ordinance has requirements in it. Putting them in.
I think it'd be worth a while to see what the cost is. Meanwhile, I'm still gonna keep moving the plan along by golly being there, Cece.
And I'd like to see us move forward on this because I think it's time to put this thing to rest and get it taken care of. So that way our citizen is taken care of.
We need a second.
Motion made, I'll second. All those in favor, give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
No, I'll wait under minutes for that one. Anything else, Cece? Mr. and Mrs. Gauss?
Yes. Henry, I asked you last month about the fire company.
Yes.
I'd like to know now what the reason you, Cece, and Rich Wagner shut the fire company down. What was the reason for it?
Accountability was a lot of it.
And what else? Anything else?
Nothing else.
You sure?
Yep. Yep.
No bandana?
Oh, I've been through this vendetta thing by golly for a long time. And if there was a vendetta, I sure wouldn't have come forward and offered to try to straighten it out.
Well, I wish somebody would get it straightened out.
And I made that offer.
May I respond to that as well, since I was
Sure, Cece.
brought up in that? It was for the lack of financial accountability. We asked at least 10 months' worth to have financial reports, monthly reports, however they wanted to give it to us. We were told we could come to the firehouse to see the books. We held meetings every month, at least once a month, sometimes more than once a month, to try to work together. Never did we ever get financial reports, but yet we could come to the firehouse to see them. And yes, my response was, are they cemented to the floor? I do remember making that remark. Why can't you bring them to the meeting? That's the purpose of having the meetings. If we were spending township money, taxpayer money, to support an organization, and I wouldn't care if it was the fire company, the Girl Scouts, the car wash, doesn't matter. If we were spending township money, citizens' money, I felt we had a right to see that information, to know how that money was being spent. That was never provided to us.
Okay.
Could I respond now?
Please.
Since it is a matter of litigation, we will take that to court. I appreciate the honesty and the openness here, since we've been asking for that information for 5 years. However, if you check with Mr. Bernhardt, one of the named litigants, that day at the October 2009 meeting, he was handed, and he has a copy, as did the rest of you receive, a copy of the financials to that point. Also, Cece, when you were campaigning, you were given a book with all the financials in it. It's a big white binder. I personally made it for you. So I'm glad that you both brought that out, and I appreciate the fact that that is documented in the minutes, because that is something that we've been trying to find out, and it's always been a big secret. But the accountability piece, again, Vince, one of the litigants, does have that document, as did you and Randy Plummer. Vince was the incoming supervisor at the time, and he was given a courtesy copy. So, as far as that, also to respond to the taxpayer money, we have a responsibility, and if you look in Helen's records, there's a responsibility to the township to document where the money for the donation is spent. And there was a letter submitted every year prior to being able to receive the next year's donation of where those figures were spent. So if you go back into our files, you'll see that documentation submitted. That's all I have.
Can I add? In the January 8th meeting that we had here to adopt that ordinance, this subject was brought up. And I'm totally amazed that Jody stood there and come up with 4 or 5 items with the date when those items were given to the supervisors. And to your credit, Henry, and the other gentleman's credit, they acknowledged they had them in their record. Cece didn't have them, to her recollection. But the other 2 supervisors had them.
And the years prior to that were in Cece's possession because she was given them in my kitchen when she was campaigning in a big white binder.
Also, when I was treasurer, there was a letter every year given because I made sure that that donation was paid for all of the utilities, the holding tank in the front, everything that was in there were itemized in that when I was treasurer doing that.
They're all in Helen's records.
They're in the township record somewhere.
That letter was submitted prior to the release of the next year's donation, just like you do with everyone else.
All I can remember in the news was because of the personal affront that 2 people received.
Right.
Now, I can't say no more.
Henry, could I add something? As far as accountability was concerned, they pointed out the financial end of it. This is something that Mr. Johnson, Mr. Gauss, and other members of the Perdix Fire Company,
I'm not a member of the fire company.
or supporters of the Perdix Fire Company might not know. That the night that, I wouldn't say a decision was made, there was a meeting held at the Duncannon Firehouse between myself, our president at the time, chairman of the board, and the solicitor of Penn Township. They had concerns. They brought it to the Duncannon Fire Company. There was threats by the operational administration of the Perdix Fire Company to A, send a fire chief out to investigate a call to see if it warranted a fire truck responding. B, not respond at all. C, close the fire company down. The Duncannon Fire Company was presented a question. If this any of those above or anything else happens, that they will not respond. Will you respond to emergencies in Penn Township? Duncannon Fire Company answered yes. That was the end of discussion. The decision that came about was after that meeting. Thank you.
And if I can respond to that, if you look back in your notes and you look back at your minutes and you look in on or about the end of 2008, there was a letter from the Duncannon Fire Company threatening the same thing, that there was a meeting held the year prior in the big room that they weren't going to respond if you didn't give them a contract. So not unlike what Perdix and Duncannon were doing in lieu of a fire tax. Duncannon set the example for that.
That's incorrect. You were with us on that. Perdix and
Not in
Duncannon were
2008.
together.
You're
Absolutely.
right, we were together.
We were
together. But to listen to Henry, there's been constant bickering between the fire companies from the beginning. I had a meeting, Henry brought it up, I was asked not to discuss it, but Henry just did discuss it. So, I had a meeting with Henry and the solicitors, and the main point of it was the contention between the 2 fire companies, how we didn't get along and how they were sick and tired of the fights. They forget, and Byron, you can stand behind me on this, we met together as a group. We were one front. There was no contention.
But I will say this to you, Jody, that I've had a lot of time to reflect on things.
Right?
5.5 years
about it.
worth.
You're right.
And every issue that came up, there was no compromise on your end. Zero. And we compromised with the Perdix Fire Company for years by protecting 70+% of the township first due and taking 50% of the money. We compromised like that for, I mean, as long as I can remember, we didn't even get 50% of the money till I don't even know what year. We
That
got way
wasn't-
less.
But that wasn't Perdix doing. They
I
made that
understand that,
Right,
but the Duncannon Fire Company took that as a compromise
right,
for years.
right. But you can agree
But
with
when
me,
we were
but
trying-
you can agree.
When we were trying to work forward with those other issues, with getting funding from the township and everything, there was no compromise on Perdix's end. It was, we need this, 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 and this, or it's that. And that's,
You were on.
those are just issues, and that's
Right.
between us. I mean, that's,
Right,
but
and we said we'd
that's something that,
have that conversation.
that's something
and-
that the other people should hear that don't hear,
Exactly.
and
But the other piece of that is, when those meetings occurred, when we left those meetings, there was an agreement of what the action plan was going to be coming to the next meeting. So the compromises probably should have been ironed out at that point. I'm not gonna take up any more of the board's time.
If I may, really the conversation the two you just had has nothing to do with the decision that the supervisors, according to what was just mentioned, it was financial accountability and no other
You're
issues.
correct.
like,
Okay?
no, Henry
So-
didn't say
so-
financial,
so-
he said accountability.
Okay, accountability, Cece
Across
said
the
financial,
board.
Cece said.
She elaborated on the financial
Correct,
end of it.
Exactly.
Henry
So-
didn't elaborate.
Okay, so I'm not gonna argue with the two of you. What I'm saying is that this is an issue between the two of you and doesn't belong here.
Correct.
It belongs in a courtroom or belongs in whatever have you.
I'm just-
So I would advise at this point here for this conversation to cease on that issue, okay?
Absolutely.
All right?
I agree.
Number two, Chairman Holman has reached out. We're, with the meetings with the Perdix Fire Company, you know, those meetings are private. I don't know what's going inside of them. I recommend.
Only one.
What's that?
Only
Only
one,
one,
only
correct,
one,
meeting,
correct.
I'm sorry. I don't have privilege, I have not been privileged to know what went on in those meetings. I believe as a supervisor, we should have been briefed after that meeting, but we weren't, okay? So therefore, you know, I believe that when the next meeting is set, that all three supervisors are there, at least for us to be, to observe and to hear what is taking place.
I agree
Right.
completely, but you may wanna check with your solicitor.
Brian, I was gonna wait for Mr. Warner to make his presentation and ask him that question. And he had brought up that they had a meeting prior to the December bringing out of that ordinance, that there was a meeting. Was there a meeting before your January presentation this year? Had you set with Mr. Warner and whatever to come out with your offer to the fire company? Was he included in that, and what if we do come back?
They've never asked for anything. The money that they've got has come out of the Board of Supervisors. They haven't asked for anything.
No, I think what Mr. Johnson's asking
No,
is
what I'm asking is,
when you made that proposal in January to
Yeah.
reach out to Perdix, did you confer with Duncannon Fire Department or Byron or anybody in that
No.
department prior to?
No.
Okay.
Duncannon wasn't involved with that.
Is that the question, Bob?
yeah, that's what
Okay.
I don't understand, is how it was so important 6 years ago, but now you're just gonna take it upon yourself to do this without his knowledge, or, you're putting us in a position here,
Right.
is whether we're accepted or whatever, I never understood it.
Well, you know, there is
but
a solution that we're gonna move on there. There is a solution to this and on the accountability. And the supervisors are in error in never being able to get across the board to get it done. You hear fire tax, and it puts the responsibility and accountability back to this board for the fire companies on the money that they receive. And it could be set without any increase on real estate in Penn Township, and they still get the money that they got today. It can be done. And the accountability comes back here. A lot of places have that they submit their bills to the township to be paid. They make their request for what they want, and the money's approved. You want accountability? Everybody asked for accountability. Everybody was criticizing this gentleman over here for no accountability out there that the money wasn't going for making the payments, and I produced a letter by golly that they submitted voluntarily, that the money that they got went where it went. And so that has been offered. But the fire tax puts a responsibility back here to the board for accountability.
Byron,
But
could
yet
I get-
everybody says fire tax.
Could I get an amen out of you and ask them to please read the 2008 and 2009 fire study meeting minutes when we said this very proposal that he's producing right now?
For funding? Well,
A
yeah, I
fire
mean,
tax,
that's-
yes, the accountability goes back to them, we'll give you the bills, you pay it, we'll take care of
Yeah,
it.
they
Is
can
that
pay
not
the
the
bill.
topic of all of our
He
meetings?
was one person
This
there.
isn't a new novel
you know, that's-
idea, Henry, we talked about this ad nauseum
And I
in
brought
the
it up
fire
for a long
study
time,
meetings.
Jody, but it never, I've heard from the fire companies, we don't wanna be blamed for the fire tax, but you can never get anybody set still long enough to really listen to how it would work.
In
And I'm
2008, it
telling
was in
you,
your hands,
that-
and we
that's-
gave you the
that's-
plan,
That
Henry.
is the issue at hand, accountability, and you can have accountability through the fire tax.
It's documented in your files, go back and read it, please.
So, the supervisors don't want to, it's always been that flip-flop. The fire company don't want to be accused of causing it. The supervisors don't want to pose a fire tax because they don't want to put a fire tax on. But somewhere along the line, it provides accountability for all the bills that's going to the fire companies. And it's been done efficiently. Would you object? No. Yes, John?
Could I ask, what is this, the basis of assessment of the fire tax? What would, I mean, is it based on property values? Is it based on earned income? Or
Yep.
what's
Property
it?
values.
Property values?
John, I'll make you a binder of our fire study notes.
Fire study?
Okay, so it would be, and the township could set, in other words, raise it by so many mills, whatever it is.
3 mills max.
Yep,
3 mills max.
it's all
Up to
detailed.
that.
I'll make you a binder. I have all that copy in my binder.
3 mills
Is there
max.
anything else for me?
Versus a half mil current property.
I need to go.
Okay. Let's move on. Ellen? Yes.
Okay,
Can we go back to Edkin? Brian Peters made a motion for Helen to get a list of solicitors of 3 to 4, but I don't show that anybody seconded.
No, they did not.
No.
Okay. Motion was
I
made
didn't
and
realize there was a
seconded.
motion, but okay.
All those in favor, give their consent.
Who's sec-
I'm not sure I understand the motion. Did you say a list of solicitors?
Solicitors that would be provided to the supervisors for us to choose from.
Okay.
I was just gonna do it. I didn't realize that was a motion.
Either that or you go, name one now so to keep the process moving. Because you're gonna wait another month to come back to deal with it.
Well, I think we can do a consensus like we do, and then bring it back to the citizens that we made a consensus vote, and then we confirm it then. So that's a practice that's taken place.
That's an option.
Motion's been made. I second. All those in favor, give their consent by saying aye. Ayes have it.
I'll take that as a directive. Okay, who did I start with all that? Mr. Benner.
I'm gonna make this short and sweet, and I don't wanna bore everybody to death, and I apologize to everybody on the board for bringing this up again. But 2 weeks ago, PP&L called me and said that Randy Maladinoff had supplied the money to move that PP&L pole. 2 days later, the tree trimmers were in there cutting lines, cutting trees to make room for the lines. A day later, PP&L come in and set a new pole. The surveyor was there and resurveyed again and moved his survey stakes back 8 feet further onto my property. Now, the pole is set on the old survey lines, and the guy wire is running down 5 feet onto my property, but in front of the new survey lines. I talked to Annette Sivas from the right-of-way agency from PP&L, and she told me Randy had supplied proof that he owned the land and that he had a building permit up there. That is why they were supplying power to the top of the hill.
No permits.
No permit.
No permits.
Anyway, the pole's there, the power's running up to the top of the hill. We've got the third survey in there, and he is also, Randy Maladnoff was there this Monday, and we had a loud argument over who owned what. And I said the road did not come back as far as what he says. Now he said that you told him that you were incorrect in your markings on the first time that you were out there and put the spray mark on the road.
Never made no such a statement. It stands as said and according to the original deed and the length of that road from the intersection on Faculty Road to the end of Rook Road. It's never changed. It's deeded. The footage has never changed. Nobody's changed it, and neither would I change it, and neither would Liquid Fuels change it.
Well, he's saying it's 8 feet back from, or
But if he's misquoting me,
9.95 feet back.
I want him to come here and tell me that
Well,
I said that.
I invited him here, but he said he couldn't make it. Mr. Smith and Mrs. Smith were there and heard him make the statements.
Yeah, where do we stand on this? We need some help from somebody.
This is getting out of hand. This is affecting our health. We can't enjoy our own property.
Yeah, I'm worried about Bob, I really am.
Yeah,
Because it's-
every morning you wake up, chainsaw running, that's.
And it's getting very annoying that, we can't get some resolution with this.
I have my survey here that Mr. Nace made out. It says there's a 33-foot right-of-way. Here's the other survey, which he provided, that says it's a 50-foot right-of-way. They keep changing their story. Every time they come out, they change their story. They've got flags all over the place. I can't even mow.
I think Cliff will tell you that it's a civil matter between you folks and Mr. Bladnoff. The township is far removed from this at the present time.
Well, I wanted to get confirmation from the township that the road ends where you said it.
Where exactly?
And I'm going to court. And Mr. Lindgren can go right back to Mr. Maladnoff and tell him that.
Well, and I believe, what the meeting that you were absent at last one, that Solicitor Wagner pretty much has determined that at this point here, the township has done all it can do. We took action that night. We took a recommendation from the county, which the county says that there is border or line dispute, and therefore it can only be resolved by the courts. The township has no rights. Is that correct?
That's
Mr.
correct.
Holman, that
That's the way
the township has no rights to determine boundaries,
No.
property lines.
Can he
And
come
you
in
just,
here and put a road in without any
well,
input from you guys? I mean, he has to.
there's rules and laws and ordinances that he has to follow. And again, when those actions are taking place, you need to notify the township and let us know that those things are taking place. But when it comes to the property lines and what's being done, because nobody knows where the lines are, not sure where the lines are, Mr. Benner, you just said it, you're gonna have to go to court.
Well,
Unfortunately, you're gonna have to go to court.
I just wanted confirmation that the road ends where Mr. Holman had put the mark on the road. From there, we go to court. And this is not gonna be a cheap issue,
You
so,
saw how far are we paved?
yes.
Yes.
What is the right of way?
33
33.
for Rob Lane, the township portion. Length is .18.
Yeah, .18. yeah.
.18.
He's saying you're 9.95 feet short, that it should be that much farther down my road.
And every plot you look at is different. You know, how's that happen?
It sounds like somebody's measuring from the center of the road and somebody's measuring from the right of way
You got
line.
it, you got it, Carl, that's it.
And
There's no doubt about it.
It depends
Yeah.
what for sketch was made when that
That's
road
correct.
was adopted and where the length was determined from.
Yes, sir.
And there should be in the road file a sketch saying, here's where it was.
Made by some guy with the name of John Fox.
Oh, man. Now you're talking an ancient history lesson.
Okay, yes, it's old, but it's there, Carl, and it's accurate. It's
And
accurate.
he did a lot of those for
Yes.
townships when they were adopting roads.
That
Yes,
was practically carved in stone.
yeah.
I might even be able to find the original in my drawings that I have.
I have the original. Okay,
Okay?
Mr. Boyer.
No, I'm healthy and I'm about good to watch a ball game.
But thank you.
Mr. Fickle.
This time I'm about ready to do the same thing.
Debbie's on the agenda. Bob.
Yes, sir. You, Henry, just to clear something up a while ago. You put my name and the Purdy Fire Company together if they put in a ditch. You did. You dug a ditch for the fire company?
Yes.
I did not ask you to dig that ditch. Monty Tupco asked you to dig that ditch. I give him the devil because I said I did not want you to dig that ditch because of just what you done to me here tonight. You have a period of time that when you come up with some helping somebody, you remind them of it. And that ain't the way I spent over 50 years in the Purdy Fire Company helping people. I don't remember who I helped.
The only reason why,
And it bugs me you use my name with that.
and I explained as to where I use my township hoe, that it's not for cost savings for the township. Mrs. Simonetti got the same treatment down there. I put that pipe in, donated it, dug up through her yard and put that pipe in. I can't help that they haven't maintained that like they promised. And Mr. Simonetti and a lot of other people have had the benefit of it. I don't cast it up to them, but when I get challenged that I use it, by golly, out here for cost savings for the township, I'm going to explain, Bob, where and how I've used it and what I've used it for.
But like I say, I want to make it clear that I had no intention of you doing that.
And Jody and them come down there and ask me down along the road if they called back up to you whether I would do that, and that's who asked me, and I said yes. And I went up, and you and I dug it. That's nothing to throw in your face. It's because it came back at me as to how I use my equipment, by golly, cost savings for the township. No, I use it to help other people, by golly, out there when I can't use township equipment.
And when you get down out of that backhoe, I shook your hand and thanked you.
Yes, and so it wasn't nothing put at you in that way. I wouldn't have brought it up again if it wouldn't have been brought up by the news reporter and everybody else about me using that as a cost saving.
While you're doing your walk down memory lane through the minutes and things, go back to, and the reporter could do that through a right to know, but you go back to the beginning when Randy Plummer was the worst manager we had here, and you were trying to save things, and the backhoe was down. You were using your personal backhoe, because each year at budget time I questioned, okay, we're not replacing equipment, we're using Henry's. How are we gonna do a cost-effective measure going down the road, like we didn't replace the building
And
manager?
how many hours do you
Again,
think I've used it, Jody?
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It was in your campaign letter how many hours you used it. That was
And
why we were
Plummer
doing
put
it
that in against
personally
my wish.
along Railroad Street. I need to go. Have a good night.
Mr. O'Shell.
I'm with the Duncan Appalachian Trail community. I think I have something we can kind of all agree on here. The Appalachian Trail passes through, I guess it's in road, and then it goes to 274 and then turns into Duncan Borough on Market Street. And it goes through that intersection that's kind of a mess. And we have hikers who are from faraway lands and they're coming into Duncannon, and when they get to that intersection they don't really know where to go. It would be nice if we could get some sort of crosswalk in there so people can pick the safest way through that intersection, and the drivers would know that the pedestrians have the right of way in that section. So I know it's a cooperative matter between Duncannon Borough, Penn Township, and PennDOT. I'm just wondering what Penn Township can do to help make that happen. Or if you agree that it's something that should happen at least.
I'm not sure it's not a PennDOT issue more on the road than it is Penn Township, where you're asking for this, unless I'm misunderstanding.
Well, I'm not sure exactly where the best place to cross that road is, because I've looked at it and I don't, it's best to just stay on your side of the road and go. So that's why I would like the township and whoever needs to be involved. The way I understand it is, whoever owns the road actually has to paint it, and yet before you can paint it, you need the approval of PennDOT.
Yeah, it's PennDOT. Go ahead, Carl.
Back when I was the PennDOT maintenance manager, when we repaved that intersection down there, we milled it all out, repaved it, the whole intersection approaching, go to the borough, and back up in front of the Legion a little ways. There used to be crosswalks in there, and I forget exactly where they were, but I think it went from the corner of the Legion property, where they're on the bullnose there, on a diagonal across to the point where everybody likes to put their advertising signs, political signs, to that point. That's where that crosswalk used to go across, somewhere close to where the stop bar is today. Coming down 274, coming down the hill, there's a stop bar. I think the crosswalk would possibly have been right in front of that.
But it's in PennDOT's right away.
It's in PennDOT right away, but PennDOT's not responsible for the placement of crosswalks. That goes back to the municipality, and the borough township line comes down the center of 274 all the way to the bridge into town. So unless one municipality is going to say, yeah, we'll do it, okay, you need both people, because half of it's the borough and half of it's the township. Mr. Councilman?
That's correct.
The action last Tuesday at our borough meeting, and Sean was present, as was your captain, was that Lynn, our manager, was directed to contact PennDOT to get permission to put in 3 crosswalks, one of which halfway is in Penn Township. Those 3 crosswalks are across the 1115 northbound on-ramp in the borough of Duncannon, across the 1115 southbound off-ramp in the borough of Duncannon, and then across 274 from the location right down here, Locust Street, where that stop bar is, to the sidewalk that's currently existing in front of the Legion and Riverview Bank. That one is half in Penn Township and half in the borough. I believe the intention is to communicate with you and or Helen, if she hasn't already done so, to make that happen, because half of that is in Penn Township, half of that is in the borough. We were going, as the borough, take the responsibility of notifying PennDOT and getting a letter to them requesting that permission to do so. So that's already in the works for 2 of those 3 spots. And then you have full crosswalks marked. There's a crosswalk legally in any intersection, but you have crosswalks actually painted on the road and marked on the state roads, the US highway access ramps and egress ramps, and the State Route 274 that are maintained by the local municipality. So half of the one on 274 would in fact be in Penn Township. And I think the intention is that, you know, if the borough's there to paint crosswalks, if the township wouldn't have an objection to doing so, did I understand that correctly, Sean? That,
Just wait to hear from you people.
I think we're waiting to hear from PennDOT, and then at that point, you know, we'll communicate with the township. So that is in the works.
Sounds like it's so.
I hope.
Hey, Henry, on that, and Craig, direct this to Craig too, and Carl, would there be any way to get signage out 274 in the borough and approaching the intersections for crosswalks? As just opposed to driving up on it and seeing people walking across the street, crosswalk ahead, something.
That's going to be tough on the ramps, particularly the on-ramp.
Well, like say coming down 274, obviously, and coming up Main Street and coming out of the borough, you know, signs of crosswalk ahead. Something just to warn people.
You're not going to have anything going across Main Street, and you're not going to have anything going across from Road Hog to the north side.
But when you come up Main Street, you gotta make a right or left, so you can possibly go through. I'm just an observation on signage coming up for a safety factor.
What you may want to do is when you guys are talking to PennDOT, try to get some suggested signing for those, if they have any,
There was to be a study of that intersection performed by PennDOT somewhat recently that suggested signing. I don't know what signing was suggested, but there was a study requested months ago by the borough.
Action, if I can inject here, I have been in contact with Senator Teplitz. I wish he would have been here tonight. I believe he would have confirmed our conversation. I'm waiting to hear back from Representative Keller that there has been a letter submitted to PennDOT from Teplitz's office about a study and possibly putting a traffic light in that intersection, because I think the volume of traffic that's come through there.
I want to tell you what,
So
that intersection will become a total nightmare if you put a traffic signal in it.
I think if the proper signage is up and the people obey the signs that they're supposed to, it won't obstruct traffic, and it's just a matter of who knowing what right of way, who has the right of way at the
You can tell who's
intersection.
driving through there is from out of the area, because they stop until
yeah.
somebody goes like
Yeah.
this. Okay, and if you let the locals do it, I'm strongly against
they might offer us a
traffic.
roundabout.
Next, Helen.
Wait.
Wait.
I'm not done. The other thing is, we have through hikers that come into town and they like to hike to Matzo Balls to get resupply. And maybe they ask someone, how do we get there? And they say, Route 274 goes right there. And we get hikers walking on Route 274, which has like no shoulder and very limited visibility. Okay. We would like, in Duncannon Borough, we proposed an alternate route where you go, it's the first street past the southbound off-ramp, and come right by this building and walk up the street and at least get further up on 274 before they're actually walking on Route 10.
I think it would be a good idea to ban pedestrian traffic in that stretch. From Valley Street,
Anyway,
from Valley Street to the end.
what we're proposing now is to paint something like footprints on the road, not like a continuous set or anything, but some sort of marking that says, once you get off and you see these footprints, follow these footprints, they'll take you to the place you need to go to resupply. That would also be good for your local children, because I've seen kids walking the same route during the day, full traffic and everything else, and you don't have to say this is the alternate route exactly, but once you tell people follow the footprints or whatever, because the through hikers aren't gonna, they don't need a sign saying where to go, because they have an AT guide and it'll say something, we can put whatever's in there, follow the footprints. So we don't need a sign that says, no pedestrians or whatever. We just need something on the road that marks the right way to go to Matzo Balls.
That's gonna be a problem to put those markings on the highway,
Well,
because they're not
the
traffic
part
control
I'm
delays.
concerned, right now, the part I'm concerned about is where Duncannon Borough ends and Penn Township starts and goes up to 274. I'm not really worried about across the on-ramp or anything like that. I'm just curious if we can get, like I said, Duncannon Borough has already agreed to it. We don't know what markings, how often, and where to go, but would something like that be acceptable?
Yeah, it becomes borough, if you're gonna bring them up here, there's nothing wrong with that. It's borough to right down here in township from here to
Right.
that.
So I just want to know, would it be acceptable to paint something on the street? With you guys doing it, or someone with a stencil, just spray paint a couple footprints or whatever? I'm not really sure what the right plan of action is. I'm just looking to see that you're amenable to some plan of action involving marking streets or phone poles or something similar to the Appalachian Trail.
In the PennDOT portion, I don't believe you're gonna get permission to paint.
I'm looking for Penn Township permission right now.
Okay.
But as Henry said, our portion of this loop you're talking about starts right down here at this intersection right here.
Right.
The rest of it's Duncannon Borough. If you want to put
Right.
it down by Penn.
I've got them on board. I'm looking to finish the rest of it.
Oh, so you want the footprints going all the way on the,
to
oh,
the
okay.
intersection.
I didn't understand that. Also, I thought that it was already in the guide that this is the alternate route.
It's on our website, and it
Okay.
has the map and everything, but a hiker
coming through is not
Okay.
gonna have access.
Okay. Oh,
Yes, John.
I think that, you know, there could be a more permanent or better, more permanent solution would be to provide, you know, a pedestrian walkway up, you know, using municipal authority sewer right-of-way going up the hill. And, you know, PennDOT has money that they, you know, 100% federal money that they can spend on pedestrian improvements, pedestrian safety improvements. And I think that would be a good area to pursue with, you know, through the local planning, you know, planning commission, I mean, the county, and to see about getting a pedestrian improvement project to provide access up the hill along through that area. I know there is still an issue as you get closer to the top of the hill, but all the way up past where the VFW is, or not VFW, the Legion, and up that way, there is a sewer right-of-way that could be used and stabilized to provide pedestrian access and get them off of 274, and would be more direct than bringing them up here along the
isn't that private property?
road.
Yeah.
I'm all for that, but my main concern with something like that is, it sounds like you're talking a year or years.
Yeah, it's gonna take
I'm just looking for something for at least next time the hikers are through, or sooner if you kind of value your kids, not walking on Route 274.
I think
And it's
that,
not just hikers.
I think that right
It's
away.
amazing the number of people you see walking up there, you know, and you know, and it's not just the hikers.
Yeah, even at night.
I have no objection putting a dozen footprints on there, or whatever you want. If it's already a designated trail and that's your alternate route you're what now, why not?
That's a good question. So, sounds like you're for it.
Well, I'm a favor, who's gonna bear the expense?
If I have to buy a can of spray paint and a stencil, I think I can afford that. It's, I'm
You go
willing-
that far and I'll provide the labor to put it down for you, how's that?
Sure. We can do that.
You buy the regular good marker paint, the good white marker paint on the
If
upside
you
down
wanna buy
spray
it,
can we
send
have
me
right there. Provide me the
receipt or
stencil
whatever.
that you would like, and it'll take me an hour or two at the most by golly to put it from there out.
Right. Okay. Good.
You provide it, and I'll see it's done.
Is there somewhere special I have to go for the good marker paint?
Well, I guess
PennDOT, no. Talk to PennDOt, no.
We usually buy all of our stuff.
You can buy spray cans at Pensy Supply, I know, I
Yeah.
bought there to use in the parking lot.
Dan Craig has a real good supply of that down Harrisburg. They're loaded with the good stuff. That good, it dries quick and it's a permanent marker.
Okay.
It's a good thing.
All right.
Okay?
Sounds great.
Okay, thank you.
Lee,
Pleasure. Gas for Less, you said you were citing them for the building, the old Gas for Less property, the one
Cinco.
loading, Cinco,
Yeah.
Gas for Less.
Okay.
A little older. Is that the same process we used on the Tassic property? That, you know, because that worked for that. That got cleaned up.
It is basically the same process.
Okay.
We've already had the inspector go in and deem that it's unsafe, and we're moving forward from that point.
Okay.
yeah.
They'll make a nice parking lot.
Is there underground storage tanks in there from the old gas tanks?
No, those have been removed.
Next, Helen?
Jeff, I think he left. Jeff
Yeah, you did.
Holman. Oh, you're hiding.
I'm just very stupid.
It's up your turn.
Nothing presently, thank you.
Okay. Mrs. Carnes?
I understand that there was trash, garbage, whatever you want to call it, dumped along Sherman's Creek back off of Fritz Drive in the last several weeks. And from what I read someplace, when it was reported to the township, the comment was made that you couldn't do anything about it.
I
was wondering.
did not receive a call like that about any trash on Fitz Drive.
Officer Schaefer received that call.
Okay.
It wasn't trash, if I remember right, it was tires and rims.
And trash.
And trash. The pictures that I saw, there were bags of trash and garbage and tires, and it looked like someone just
Can I see your picture?
dumped it.
Well, she said she got a phone call about it, that the person that owns the property doesn't live in town, they live outside the township?
No, I have no idea who owns, no, I live in the township.
Yeah, she got a call from supposedly the owner of the property. And she went out there and she did not, according to her, she did not see this.
Okay, can I interject, Helen? I'm also down there. This is what I was coming about too. I called, my name is Kristen Heller, and I called apparently about 30 minutes after the property owner, because the property owner was called and informed of the trash.
Okay. Did
And-
you also speak with Officer Schaefer?
Is that the only female officer?
That's the only,
I
well,
missed her
that
name.
was
so
our
I do-
only female.
I do apologize,
Now we
I
don't have
missed her
any
name.
questions.
But I spoke to her and she said that it was unfortunate, but there's really not much she can do. She would drive out and look. I did not hear that she did not find anything. But obviously it's there, it's still there.
Obviously.
And I was informed that without an eyewitness to see who dumped it, that there was really not much that could be done. Now, I've heard hearsay that township police have before gone through trash to find evidence,
We
receipts,
certainly have.
anything they can tie this back to this person,
Yeah.
who obviously can't afford to pay for the trash removal. But I was told there was nothing that could be done, basically. I did not call the township because I thought that the township police and the township would communicate.
Yeah.
I
On certain
apologize.
things we do, but if Helen doesn't need to know it, I don't
wanna
tell
know
her.
it.
If I don't need to know it, she doesn't tell me.
However, I since then also contacted DEP,
Mhm.
who filed a complaint because Fritz Drive floods on average at least 2 times a year. The next flood could happen anytime, and this stuff's gonna be in the river.
Okay, what did DEP tell you?
DEP told me that they would file a complaint,
Uh-huh.
but without finding out who dumped it, the cost of removal would possibly go back to the property owner, which then made me regret doing the right thing and calling to complain.
How far from the intersection of Delville was it down?
How
How
far?
far down, Fritz?
How far over? I'm gonna guess about a quarter mile.
I'll be out there tomorrow morning and I'll look through it.
This is similar to one like we had down on Linton Hill that we, perpetrator there was caught, was he not? But, yeah.
Your name again?
Kristen Heller,
And your phone number?
717-834-4122.
4122? All right, I'll be out in the morning.
And this is property of Mr. Shuey.
Okay.
I don't know the spelling, but he lives in Hummelstown.
Yeah, that's,
And he has some people, I believe, that look over his property.
his wife is who called. All right, I'll go out and see if we can't find something to identify whose it is.
Okay, and
but-
what will be done?
Well,
Is this
if
gonna fall
we
to
can
citizens to
identify-
clean up, or?
If we can identify who it is, they will be charged. If we cannot identify who it is, it's up to Mr. Shuey to clean it up. I mean, technically, even if we can identify who it is, by the time it gets to court, Mr. Shuey might want to pay someone to clean it up and give us the bill and try to get restitution. Okay, that answer all your questions?
For the most part, so we get some more answers.
Okay.
Okay, on a similar, I took notice Sunday afternoon that there were bags sitting out on Delville Road at the crossroads again. Did the police pick them up, or?
We haven't done any that I know of this week.
Well, there was at least one sitting there Sunday evening, about 5:30, 6 o'clock when I came in town. And there were 3 or 4 sitting there Monday afternoon, probably about 3:30, 3:45 when I can back out Delville Road. So,
We've gone through them, we've probably charged a dozen people for putting the trash there.
somebody's not
it's-
getting it.
Who is the trash company that picks up there? Sylvester. Is there a way for we to send, are we working with Sylvester
We
to send a
called
letter?
Sylvester's.
For Sylvester to put a letter
Well,
out to
and
their
the ones
residents back
Monday
there?
afternoon would have still been there after Sylvester's did their trash pickup for Monday.
Sylvester's is telling us that that is not a scheduled pickup.
Right.
They don't know where the people are getting the information to pick up the trash there. The problem is the people can go to retail establishments and buy Sylvester's bags.
Doesn't mean Sylvester's accountable, correct?
Yeah, and Sylvester doesn't have any contact with them to tell them not to put it at the corner of Camber's Corner and 274.
Is it too late to put something in the township newsletter?
I can add.
Just something
No,
stating.
I can add that, yes. We'll get to the newsletter later, but yeah, I can find a spot to put it.
One other thing, Henry, you made a comment that I was interested in. You said you were gonna check out site distance at the end of Faculty Road.
Yes, there's some weeds and stuff growing out there.
Okay, as you're heading out 274 Faculty Road, going off to the left, and if you're coming out Faculty Road, then looking which way, to the left or the right?
This is coming out, the complaint we had on that one was coming out Faculty on the right-hand side, going out 274 coming out.
Okay, okay.
That's-
Yeah,
That's the side there that we've trimmed that back before and it takes about twice a year to keep it from growing back.
that is very dangerous.
That's bad
going
right
down
there right
I
now.
do
I
that
was out this morning and looked
many
at it.
times a week.
So,
So, okay, that, we would very much appreciate that.
yeah, okay?
You bet.
So we're working on that.
Okay.
Okay, next, Helen?
Luke.
Nothing.
Carl, he left. Oh no, he's trying to move and hide. Carl, you still caught. You got anything to say?
No, I said enough to me.
Mrs. Landis left, I believe.
She was on the trash issue.
Okay, Smith?
The only other thing I'd like to add, in addition to what Mr. Benner said, is the fact that people are not very respectful of other properties when they're mowing their grass, and I addressed this with Helen. When you mow your grass and mow it out and blow it out onto the highway, and then it ends up in the storm drains, and plus the fact that it's slippy when there's water on the road, like it's rained, and that really shouldn't be considered any different than blowing the snow out on the highway. And I
It's in the
just
newsletter.
wish people would
I put
be
that
more
in the newsletter.
respectful and not do that.
Now, there is a state law that covers that. There's no township ordinance, but there is a state law that covers that. So that is something that is enforceable.
So in other words, if I would call and say so-and-so has blown their grass out onto the township road, okay? Because I could probably do that every week. Maybe more than once.
Looks like I'm gonna be busy.
There you are, John. There's your chance to, by golly, get the old supervisor here. I do it all the time. You drive through it. Do you have a problem with it? Where I mow my road? Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Byron?
Yes, our tanker pump has been repaired. That bill was $9,000. It was also pump tested, and the rescue has also been pump tested. So we're gonna get the pumps tested every other year. We just don't use them enough to warrant. We get them maintenance every year. We're gonna have them performance tested every other year. So all three have been done within the past year. All three of our pumping apparatus. And the only other thing I have, the committee meeting, the next committee meeting will be September 29th at 7 p.m. at the fire station in town.
Thank you, Brian. Anybody else?
Stanley.
Nothing.
Judy left. Craig.
I'll do my best to remain brief. I have updated call numbers through the end of July. This is the total call line. The report is the same format I've been using since 2005, I believe. We will note that we're on track to have our busiest year on record. Previously, our busiest year was about 1,200 calls. If you do the math here, we're about 100 calls a month, a little more than 100 calls a month, so we're looking about 1,300 if we maintain the same trend. We've been busy. We've absorbed the overrun or the mutual aid into the lower end of Penn Township, resulting from Marysville's absence. Also into Rye Township, we found, because Marysville and Shermansdale used to split that pretty evenly, and now Shermansdale is unavailable. We're now the second agency to go over Pine Hill into Rye Township. Additionally, New Bloomfield, covering New Bloomfield's area, they're having some staffing issues, not staffed 24/7 as they once were, and they're also covering the Ickersburg area that's been without coverage since the end of 2013. So we're holding our own. We do have an ambulance that is out of service. It's got 208,000 miles on it. It's 14 years old, and the rear end is now out in that vehicle, so we're not going to put any money into it. We're going to be down to 3 at this point. Our hope is that first quarter of next year, Shermansdale is prepared to sell one. We bought a last used ambulance from Shermansdale. The last new ambulance that we purchased was 2008, which in hindsight was probably not the best purchase we could have made. We had nothing but trouble with that vehicle since day one, and we use it primarily for non-emergency transfers at this point. So we have 3 in service, 24/7. We have 1 staff for emergencies, and probably 75% of the time we have a second staffed available from volunteers and call-ins. Then the 3rd ambulance typically is used for our scheduled non-emergency transfers. So that's how we'll work. We just won't have the backup, which has essentially been that 4th ambulance for the last year and a half, essentially. Also, I wanted to follow up. We had an episode maybe a month ago where a vehicle in the borough hopped the curb. Officer Sheets was the investigating officer, did the report, took out a borough sign, also hit the back bumper of one of our ambulances. I did pass some information on to Officer Schaefer last week, and she advised she would pass it on to Officer Sheets and he would be in touch. I haven't heard anything. Okay. I didn't know if that took place, if she had passed it along.
I thought he charged it.
Okay, I didn't know if you even tracked anybody down. Very good, very good. And the only other item I have, and I'm not speaking on the EMS behalf for this one, is I wear too many hats some days, and one of those is as a member of Borough Council, and I've spoken on multiple occasions in the borough with some dissatisfaction and some challenges I've experienced personally and on behalf of the borough with the police department. I just want to maintain that those reflections are as a member of council and are as a resident taxpayer, 3 properties in the borough, and also as a husband and father. So if any of those are points for discussion at this table or at the borough table, I'll be glad to, but I just want to make sure that separation is made between the EMS organization and me as an individual. Like I said, sometimes those overlaps are moderately uncomfortable, which I'm sure you all understand as well. So I just want to reiterate that those concerns are on the borough's behalf and not on the EMS behalf. So should there be anything you need from us in either capacity or any of my many capacities, I'd be glad to provide it. And as always, thank you for your ongoing support.
Greg, how do you make it out with the list of questions that I gave you for a response to each individual one?
It is right there in the front of my folder, and I provided most of the answers, just not in the format that you wanted. So it has not been a priority for me with everything else we have going on since it was not an official township request. Okay. Certainly I will get to that when I get a chance. We're in the midst of relicensure. We've been slammed with calls. I'm on a lot of incidents. We did the full report, the 19-page report for the end of the year, and since that wasn't an official township request, it simply was not a priority.
Okay. Been almost a year.
Yes, it has. November will be a year.
And the same type of request went to the fire company and they responded quick on those.
And the fire company handles about 250 calls a year. We're on track for about 3,000.
Which I got a response back there. The statement was made, accountability by golly. I think I heard Mr. Peters say that everybody needs to be accountable. And I would appreciate if you would answer those because they came out of that report. I have nothing to do, or it's not my fault, that I was the one that took a look at it and generated it. Mr. McGuire had the same opportunity, Mr. Peters had the same opportunity.
I believe
chose-
every cent of township money, the $15,000, which accounts for about 3% of our operating fund, has been accounted for every year since 2005.
The questions I gave you.
And the
are-
questions you have
Yeah.
relative to the township
The letter
support,
that I gave you.
we're not going to provide you with personal payroll information for employees. We'll provide you with some information that's appropriate for release, but we're not gonna provide you our personal rate
So in
information
other words,
for
you're
our
not gonna
employees.
answer that?
We're not gonna answer all of them, no, sir.
You're not, that's what I wanted to hear.
I'm sure it is.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Can I reiterate, can I put something in here? I believe I've been made very clear by Chairman that as a supervisor, we're a supervisor 24/7. And I've been correct, I've been told that. Has any of these requests ever come personally to you via telephone, or they always came from this room? When Mr. Holman asked you for personal information or personal questions?
I can assure you from this room.
So the majority of the time it comes from this room, so it is coming as a
There-
supervisor, not as personal.
I think that's been a question that's been
Okay,
asked a couple
I just wanted
times.
to make.
And I even gave a report, offer your report as to what generated them. And it was all taken out of your report. So I just asked,
So it's not personal,
It's
it's
not.
coming from the supervisor.
yes.
But yet you've stated many a times it's personal.
Okay, I got the answer that I expected. Thank you. Next?
And I got the answer I expected. Thank you.
Mr. Cross? Is he still here? Okay. Jeff Cross?
This is Jeff Crabb.
Oh, I'm sorry, it looks like S's.
Do you want to handle this here?
Yeah. Jeff was in the office today, and we had a conversation about his son. His son has autism,
Yes.
and we're looking at a way of tracking, not only in the borough, but also in the township, people that have special needs. I know personally, dealing with my mom being 85 and having dementia and moving into not even know what day of the week it is sometimes, that the possibility of her wandering off is getting greater and greater and greater. So we're looking at developing a database where we have the names and addresses of potential people that might have an issue with this, as well as a picture of them, and have it updated on a regular basis, so if one of our officers come across these individuals, we can pretty much know who they belong to and to be able to take them home. And Jeff brought that to my attention today, and that is something that we're going to start working on. Is there anything you'd like to add that I might have missed?
We're probably going to link up with the EMTs, the Duncan Fire Company. Make everyone aware. It should be like a shared drive, so that way everyone has knowledge of it. Say if my kid wanders off and I get that panic call and I call the fire company, they could say, all right, and the chief, or the captain or chief, whoever could come and say, all right, this is what the kid looks like, we have a picture, and this and that, this is who we're looking for. I mean, you have the railroad tracks. My child in particular is actually attracted to water, and he's a wanderer. So if he escapes the house, it's like a trap to find him.
And an escape artist now.
An escape artist, yeah. So.
And I can appreciate that. I really encourage this. It's almost like we fingerprint kids and we take photographs of them to keep our kids safe. My full-time employment, I work for a national, international nonprofit, but I work with persons with disabilities. And I know the challenges I face on a daily and weekly basis with dealing with people with autism and other special needs. So I really applaud EMS, the Duncan Fire Department, and the police department working together, again, to provide a safe avenue and protection for our citizens with disabilities.
I haven't addressed the EMTs with the Duncan Fire Company yet. I just came here today because that's part of the checklist, and I wanted to get the ball rolling in the right direction. And I'm sure I'm not the only one in town with the townships, the child with autism or some disability.
It's a growing need, it's a growing concern in our communities, meaning that more and more children are coming on board with autism being diagnosed. And there's a large spectrum from here to here.
Exactly.
You know, so.
Next, Helen, anybody else?
Mrs. Heller, anything else? Mr. Lindgren? Okay, did anyone else I miss? I don't think so. John didn't speak up at his name called. We're done.
Okay? Now down for the regular township business. Invoices or expenditures are before you. The invoices, what is the wish of the board for approval of the bills? Anything special, Libby?
No.
Nothing, normal bills. Okay?
Hold a second here.
Right on your bill. Be like
28572.
I make a motion that we pay the bills. Do I hear a second?
I second the motion that bills get paid.
Okay, motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye. Ayes have it.
Except I abstain from voting on check number 28572, read to the President, 4502.
Pay the bills. You have before you the treasurer's report. Is there any corrections or changes to be added by the Board of Supervisors or anything to offer in regard to the treasurer's report?
Just, we received the monthly EIT payment, and we received the quarterly LST payment.
Okay, what is the wish of the board? Do I hear a motion?
I make the motion that we go ahead and accept the report, subject to audit.
I second the motion.
Motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
There are 4 CDs that are maturing in September. They are all currently the municipal easy access CDs that are invested at Mifflintown Bank. So I just need to know how you want to reinvest these.
I make a motion that we concur with Mifflintown with the CDs for another 11-month period.
All 4?
Pardon?
All 4?
Yeah. Include them all, Helen.
I second.
Motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered. Minutes, July 29th, 2015, and August the 5th, 2015. For rejection or approval, or changes.
You want to do them separate if you want to do changes.
Yeah, okay. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I move we approve the minutes of the July 29th meeting.
Motion been made. I'll second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered.
Henry, if you wanted to do what you talked
Yes,
about,
I will.
that's
No.
now.
Okay, this is it. Let's get these approved and then go through that.
You just did.
What's that?
You just did.
No,
Yeah.
29th. I'm
July
talking on the
29th.
5th.
Oh, okay, I thought you said both.
No.
Okay.
29th. Okay. Do I hear approval or rejection for the minutes of August the 5th?
I move that we approve the minutes of the August 5th meeting with one correction to the spelling of Fouts in Fouts Apartments.
I'll get that for you.
How do you spell it?
PFAUTZ.
That's not how they spell it on the internet. Okay.
It is on
Okay.
the road docket.
Okay, motion been made. Do I hear a second? I'll second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered. Now, in regards to that, those minutes were approved as was. There is a correction here. In order to put it in its proper perspective was brought to my attention. And at that meeting, when we voted on supporting to the, a letter of support for the municipal authority, Mr. Peters, as it says here in the meeting, voted no, on the vote, my error in not picking up, because he wanted to change his mind later to vote for it. So his vote legally still stands no. So I would like to hear a motion, I'm sure he would like to have that. It says he changed his mind, you know, to change his vote to yes, but it was never done officially. So I'd like to make a motion that we rescind that motion and put it on the floor again for an opportunity to vote that would include your vote legally.
Okay, that the wording would stay the same, that we're not supporting.
But that's correct.
We're supporting the project,
That's
but no financial
That's correct,
obligation
and that was the way it
until a
was.
plan has been brought before us.
Yes.
Okay, I guess I can't make that motion.
No, I made the motion, do I hear a second?
I second the motion.
Motion made with a second. All those in favor, give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Puts it
No,
in-
he just rescinded it.
He rescinded it.
Now you know how to go do
Now
it.
we gotta go through the vote.
Okay.
Now, the motion is before the board, that the board opens that up for vote again to include the 3 supervisors, that we support that project with not a specific amount of money, but we do support that project so that they had something to take to the financial institution to show that the board supports it. I make a motion that the township support that letter and to the municipal authority, which has been forwarded and already has signatures on it.
Correct, but the thing about it is that we agreed that there would be no money amount.
Now, there
So
isn't,
therefore, we're sending a letter to the bank telling them we're gonna back a loan,
no, that we support the
the
project.
project.
Yeah.
The project,
Okay, but they're gonna take that letter and use it to get collateral or to get funds, to fund something that,
no, that they have to, that has to come back to us for approval, that amount of money.
okay,
because-
I just wanna make sure that.
No, it's
that-
not, Bart.
I just wanna make sure, listen, I just wanna make sure that any financial obligation that is committed by them, that's supported by us, comes back to us first for approval.
Always has been that way.
Okay,
It's the only way it can be done.
I just wanna make sure that it's clear. I support the project, the people in Sunshine Hill deserve to have quality water. And I support the program, the progress, and redrawing the plans for Sunshine Hill. I'm all for it. But I'm not ready to commit any money to it until we know how much it's going to cost.
Okay,
Because
well,
because it could end up coming back to the township. If something would happen, the economy flop, the municipal authority can't collect the money, then the taxpayers of our township collaterally, jointly, will have to pay this bill. And I'm not ready to raise taxes on people if I don't have to.
And, okay, one more time. The procedure for this is to show them that have support, there's no money involved. And for them to guarantee a loan would have to come back before the board after they done the findings and after they had an amount in mind and after the engineering was done on it. Then that would come back for the board of supervisors to review, to either reject or accept. Right at the present time, they need to know that their costs may be prohibitive and it's going to be a problem, but they're trying to change the course up there of it to get some money, and they needed that support. Okay, motion been made. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Second.
So I need a second.
I second.
Okay, motion been made, second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Puts it in official, in its proper place.
Yeah, and Brian, for your information, they have to bring an agreement back that them and we
Yeah.
sign. So there's a,
Yep, I just wanna make sure that before anything gets done, any loan is given, that it's on the forefront in front of everybody with transparency.
Yeah.
They can't provide that loan themselves, they're not allowed to. Okay. Minutes, highway report, okay? I guess everybody has seen and heard, which is the big thing, which I will mention out here, the 11 and 15 closure down here, Marysville is going to take place. I see that there was an awful lot of people tried to get something different, but as I've heard it now for a long time, it seems that was cast in stone a long time ago. That's the way it's going to be. So we're going to have to fight. We're going to have to work around that. a highway report here as far as we're going at the present time. Linton Hill should be ready for paving by this Friday. We've replaced 4 culverts out there with all rotted out, all bad. Much needed, and made some changes out there, and we stabilized some banks that have been washing away. We poured some concrete out there in places to create some walls out there to keep it from washing away. Contractor was on the site and was okay with the site prep, and I need to get with Mr. Devine to take him out and take a look at it. At the same time, I had the contractor out, which I always do. I asked for budget figures for what I would think would be the project for next year. And one of the roads that needs that done is the extension on Barrick Drive out there, because there was only ever 2 layers of tar and chip and taken over by the township. We've been maintaining it with the tar and chip to keep from losing it. But it is a road that really needs done now. Depending on the budget number that comes back from that, to see where it's at, there's an X amount of money that you take a look at each year that the township can spend, and it still leaves potential income there or money for another year's paving behind that. That's looking ahead. If the budget number comes back decent out there, we may be able to include, and I asked for budget figures on the rest of Faculty Road down to Mr. Samples. Trying to get, just like we bid one Linton Hill, and our price was good, we included Spur Road. And so you try to take as much as what you can and still leave that big cushion of money. So I hope to go out of office with this township looking at well under $400,000 for road work. 2004 we were broke. So there's got to be a good pile of money there for a continuation of paving our roads. If it's managed right, it'll take us a long ways if they do that on a yearly basis. You won't deplete it. So that's as much as where I'm at, and we are planning on cutting brush and some right-of-way stuff, and I do have a bad washout out here on Faculty that I promised the people that I would get to out there. That's a couple days putting it in with the shoulder paver to fill that back in out there where it's washed out from heavy rain. And Cece, I will continue moving towards your project down there, but I sure would like to see those numbers from someone that could do that in 2 days. If there's a cost savings there to the township or time-wise, I'm willing to look at it both ways. That's all I have at the present time on our, our new trucks ordered and is on the way. I don't have anything else at the present time, but we spent an awful lot of work trying to get that road out there prepped. And thank golly. One of the big reasons that maybe most people don't realize is a big concern with the EPA. I'm sure Max will assure you on this new EPA ruling. This thing goes into effect, and 90% of the acreage in Pennsylvania will now be under their control. And therefore, I waited till those streams out there dried up completely before I dug them out. I didn't want no mud, anything. It's considered a discharge, a permanent discharge, or etc. Now they can flood, they can pollute anything they want out in the west, and it's okay, and they withhold it. But I didn't want to send anything down into the Juniata. So that's part of the reason why I held off so long and dried up, so that we're not working in a stream out there, putting any muddy water down. And it's very important that that's done that way. And so that part of it out there is now done. That's all I have underneath the highway report, Penn Township Planning Commission.
Everything they worked on is under zoning.
Okay. Zoning report, Helen?
Okay, you got the report on what he's done. Then we have Mrs. Corvagas had to do a second request. Found out she's in the precautionary steep slopes on the property, so she needs a variance for that. What they did at the hearing this month was continued her hearing, so this could be advertised and be added on at the same time. What, it's just, whether you wish to be a party or not.
Well, I said at the last one, and that's pretty well cast in stone out there, what's gonna take place, the steep slopes, et cetera. I don't feel we need to be a party. That's my opinion. If anybody, the other supervisors want to attend,
She's talking a total of 308 square feet that will have to be in the steep
and you're
slope.
getting some relief out there, I believe.
As far as, oh, yes, I'm.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with
Okay.
what has been put forth. So.
Okay, that's, they tried to work around that the best they could out there for you, and thanks for understanding it,
Okay,
okay?
yeah.
Do we have to vote to forward it?
Whether you're gonna be a party
Yeah.
or not.
That's,
Well, the planning commission letter says recommends forwarding for consideration of steep slopes.
Yeah. They didn't think you guys really needed to go,
yeah.
Okay.
so that's the motion they made, so.
That was a big discussion, why it got carried over, was the steep slopes, and they resolved that issue afterwards. People went and looked at it, I think that very night after the hearing, did they not?
Uh,
Well, it came out Monday.
The next
Yeah,
day.
it came out Monday, okay, I know they were going to.
Mhm.
Okay, so what is the wish of the board? To attend, be party to the hearing or not? I make a motion that we concur with the recommendation of the planning commission there, that we didn't need to be a part of it.
I second it.
Motion made with a second, all those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered.
Okay, the second one is Hunter McGuire. He wants to place a garage with an apartment above it on the property on the corner of Muhlenberg and Lincoln. He's asking for setback relief. He stated to me when he put that application in that he wishes in the future, I don't know how far in the future, 1 or 2 years, something like that, to put a house in front of where the garage is gonna be. And the apartment would disappear, become storage or something.
I think that's his plan, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the timeframe.
Can't remember, he said in the future, so.
And he was not present at the planning commission meeting, he couldn't answer any questions.
Yeah,
They couldn't, so therefore, planning commission really
they
couldn't
basically,
make any recommendation one way or the other, whether in their opinion, it was incomplete. Doesn't
Yeah.
provide enough information,
it doesn't just demonstrate a handicap.
nor does it, in their opinion, at this point, show hardship.
Yeah, that's what I meant, hardship, I'm sorry.
So,
Yeah, but the motion was that they recommended that you not be a party of the application,
Okay.
because it was incomplete and all that.
Incomplete, okay. Do I hear a motion to concur with their recommendation that we not be a party to the hearing? I'll make that motion. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye. Ayes have it, so ordered.
I abstain because Hunter McGuire is my nephew.
Okay, thank you, John.
Okay, that's all I have from zoning.
Okay. Storage enforcement officer report. Dave Kelly, holding tank, Helen?
Yes, Mr. Kelly got me the holding tank with the signatures and all that good stuff.
He finally showed up today.
He actually got a fax back within an hour.
Okay,
Faxed
good.
it to him, I was surprised.
Okay.
So I just need you gentlemen to, whether you're going to keep it or not. He still has a CD for the escrow of the $2,000, the escrow on that. I got proof that that's still there.
Okay. I guess we need a motion to grant it for what, another 2 years?
2 years.
Yeah, okay. Do I hear a motion for the board? All this paperwork is in compliance.
Yep.
I move we approve the cleaning contract for another 2 years, is that what we're doing?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. Motion is made. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. So ordered. Penn Township Park and Rec Board report.
You have that in front of you. On Friday, we are going to have Mr. Amos, I forgot his last name, the gentleman who did the township office is coming in giving us a quote for the kitchen.
Okay.
Did what part of the township office?
The safety door and window.
Oh,
Penn Township Municipal Authority.
Yeah, I don't have anything.
Okay. Secretary's report, traffic signal maintenance agreement before you.
Okay. I got the 3 quotes for that. Right now, we have signal service until the end of the year. But they are not the low bid. That is Atlantic Transportation System, or the low quote. And I gave you also, if there's, that's just for the maintenance, for a 2-year contract. And I also gave you the prices if they would come out and have to fix something, accident,
Okay.
whatever. Active nature and all that.
Presently, Helen?
We have signal service.
$325.
Mm-hmm. They're staying the same price as what we paid for it for this year.
Okay. Atlantic's located where?
Camp Hill.
Camp Hill?
Camp Hill, yeah,
can't go P.O. box.
yeah. Perks has a gentleman in Elliotsburg. Where is it? Elliotsburg. So he's close if he has to come out emergency-wise.
But he's high.
I know. And signal service is out of Westchester.
I make a recommendation, we stay with where we're at for the price of $325.
I second the motion.
Okay, motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Okay, Helen.
Okay. The next thing I have is the fall cleanup.
Mm-hmm.
Prices stayed the same.
Basically the same.
Oh, they stayed the same from 2014.
Okay.
And again, we only received 1 bid.
Okay. I make a motion that we notify Sylvester's that they got the job for the fall cleanup.
I second.
Motion made with second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. So ordered.
Okay, the next thing I have is the resolution for the ag security from the hearing.
Okay.
We have a time limit when we have to get the resolution recorded at the courthouse.
Mhm.
I have it all set up here, and I will put the spreadsheet with this to get it recorded. Now, then I have 10 days after recording to get it to the Department of Ag.
Okay.
And then this process will be done, this time.
I make a motion that we adopt the resolution.
I second the motion.
Motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. So ordered. Window quotes. Have the quotes
Okay.
attached, Helen?
Yep, I have the 3 quotes. There's probably see two. I think we got Home Right, Hershocks, and Home Renew.
Everything right from home right?
Home Right should be, there's Renew, should be in the first
I
part.
have two,
You have two parts, because I got one today.
I have two sheets from home renew.
Yeah, Home Right should be, Home Right and Hershocks.
Didn't we do some work with Home Right before?
Home Right was down, no, not Home Right, yeah, I'm sorry, Home Right was downstairs in the basement, in the rec room. He
Okay.
replaced those.
Okay. And the work was satisfactory?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They're holding up great, especially being ground level.
That's a replacement for these windows here, 3 of them.
Home Renew's the bottom one. I should have another one of these in there. Go back. Oh. How much is it? These will be, these are windows, they'll tilt in for cleaning.
What was the wish of the board? Do I hear a motion to accept the lowest price for $1,592 from Home Right versus Hershocks $2,315?
I make that motion that we award the work to home right at a price of $1,592 for 3 windows.
I second.
Motion made with a second. All those in favor, give their consent by saying aye. Ayes have it, so ordered.
Okay, and the next thing I have is just information.
Okay?
I got called from Blue Ridge today. They're going to set up a date for the authority and the township office to get free internet. They're checking with Penn to see the contract that the police office has, because Penn is associated with Blue Ridge. Therefore, they might be able to keep their Penn stuff free. But she has to figure out, it's either that or they're going to change the cable free. But they have to figure that out, which it is. I'm hoping to get a phone call within the next couple days on that one.
Okay.
And as soon as I know the date, I'll let Susan and Karen know.
Thank you.
And that's all I have under that one.
Okay, engineers report?
I have nothing other than what we've already discussed.
Okay, Max, thank you. We have solicitor report. Solicitor Wagner's not being here. He called at 4 o'clock. He got tied up at a hearing and was running late. Police report. Clifford, do you have anything else?
I do.
Appreciate your indulgence here this evening.
You have the officer activity breakdown in front of you in the packet. We have some other things to tell you what's going on. First thing I want to talk about is some crimes that have been occurring. If you don't know, the Sunoco, which used to be called Tom's down here on Main Street, got robbed last night about 9 o'clock in the evening. White male, 6 foot, 180 pounds, with blue jeans, black t-shirt, and a gray bandana, walked up to the counter, demanded all the money, said he had a handgun but didn't display it, had socks over his hands, took the whole cash register drawer and fled on foot. We are still waiting for the Sunoco corporate office to forward us the video of the incident, so we can send that over to Crime Stoppers and help us with our investigation.
Do we believe it's the same individual that robbed it several weeks ago?
No, that would be Jesse Shoemaker.
Yes, this has now been apprehended.
Yeah, he robbed the credit union on Sunday and got apprehended, I guess, Monday morning in York. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not him, because that would have been an easy one. We've also had a rash of thefts out at Stonebridge Health and Rehabilitation Center. And it's thefts of the residents' money. But what we've learned is there's been a change of ownership out at Stonebridge. So we've learned that these thefts have been going on in the past, but we were never called. Now that there's new ownership, they are now calling. And we do have an individual that we're looking at, and I've interviewed her once, and we're going to go back and talk to her again. Another thing, we're working with Perry Foods. They have a a company that has given them between bad checks and just non-payment of over $3,000 worth of product. We're working with Perry Foods to recoup that money. And we can tell that school is back in session. Yesterday, we had an assault on the middle school playground. A bunch of 8th graders were playing basketball. One 8th grader fouled another 8th grader, and he didn't like it, so he decided that instead of taking shots from the foul line, he would plummet the guy 5 times in the head with his fist, knocking him to the ground. Charges are pending up at the district attorney's office for that 8th grader. And talking about the school, and we talked earlier about how the criminal justice system works so slow and takes forever. You might remember that Taja Misner from Marysville was the treasurer of the middle school PTO. She was diverting money from the PTA. She was diverting money out of the PTO checking account for her own use. She diverted well over $20,000 out of the PTO. This last week, she pled guilty to the charge, has to make restitution in excess of $20,000, and was given 5 years probation. We are finishing up a PennDOT-sponsored aggressive driving grant. So far, we've put in 59.5 hours of officer time, which is paid entirely by PennDOT. We've issued over 130 citations, and by PennDOT's guidelines, our enforcement has to be entirely on Route 11 and 15, so that's where it's been for the grant. So far in the construction zone, we've only had 1 accident, which is just amazing. So far we're doing good. Getting back to closing 11 and 15 next year, there's a meeting tomorrow at PennDOT at 1 o'clock. I will be there to listen to PennDOT's reasons as to why they have to close the roadway, and this is a predetermined thing. I don't know why we're having the meeting, but we are. We talked about codes, personnel. There's now 2 full-time officers, myself and the chief, and 6 part-timers. We lost Tim Gingrich to Helen Borough. We lost Heather Schaefer to Franklin and Marshall College. It looks like we're going to be losing Tim Bream. He is #1 on the list for Harrisburg City, and I talked to the gentleman doing his background. And if Harrisburg can come up with some money, they will possibly be hiring him in October. And also, Officer Melinda Lancaster is off on maternity leave. Her baby is due in January of 16. However, her and her husband just bought a house down in the southern end of York County. So I'm not looking that come February she'll be back. Our equipment, our 2013 Ford Police Interceptor Utility is pushing 150,000 miles. We're getting ready to get rid of that, and we confirmed this week that there is one on order. There is one on the way to replace it. Hopefully in the next month or so we will get that changed out. That's all I have for you.
Thank you, Clifford. Thank you.
Captain, quick question, a couple of quick questions here for you. Received several phone calls over the last 2 weeks with a Penn Township officer going around and telling individuals throughout our township and neighboring boroughs, Duncan and Marysville likewise, that Penn Township is getting rid of all of its part-time officers, going with 5 full-time officers. And at the time that you're leaving, he's going to become captain.
Wow. Did he tell me when I'm leaving?
Yeah. Well, he said you're going to Silver Springs Township.
Well, I am on the list for chief of police of Silver Spring Township.
Okay.
But I have not gotten the job. I have gotten.
So this officer is misspeaking to the community.
I think this officer is just wishful thinking.
Okay.
Let's put it that way.
All right. The officer, how long has he been with the township?
Can you tell me who it is?
I believe his name is Jason Myers.
Myers was with us. Myers was with us for about a year. He left, and then he just came back.
Okay. All right. And did he come before the board?
No, he was never, he just kind of took like a leave of absence. He was never gone, so he didn't need to be rehired.
Okay. Okay, thank you. It was disturbing that I got these phone calls and I was told I was,
Did they give you a date I was getting a new job, or?
no, they just said that you were up for Silver Springs Township.
Well, that is true.
Yeah,
But
yeah, but I just, you know, it's just, I don't think he needs to be putting business out before this,
No.
until something is concrete.
I agree 100%.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks for the report, Clifford. Correspondence, Helen?
Well, they'll give you the permit report that's there, nothing
Well,
unusual.
permit, yeah. Not that much yet.
Okay, correspondence. We have, okay. We have PSAS trustees and insurance services. There's actually, this is the first three. One's for pension, one for unemployment, one for health. There are 2 open positions for their board, and they're asking us to vote, what our vote would be on it, so.
Okay, not knowing anybody personally or anything like that, Helen, we usually go by their recommendation.
Yeah.
And vote that, proxy vote to I make a motion that we continue to do that in this particular case.
Yeah. Actually, I know Mr. Hauk. He been involved with PSATs for years. Mr. Groves has 2, just not as much. As long, I should say. I met both of them at PSATs. So that's A, B, and C?
Yep.
Okay.
Motion made, do I hear a second?
I second.
Motion made with a second, all those in favor give their consent saying aye. Ayes have it, so ordered.
Okay, the next item I have is the Perry County Municipal Waste Management Plan update. I actually printed the whole update for you, the synopsis of it. They're asking us to review and ratify the plan. When I went to their website, that one page is all they had there. I think it's behind you, Henry. That's what they had on their webpage. Now,
We have to November the 11th, Helen?
yeah, you have time to,
Okay.
you have time to table if you wish to.
I'll make a motion to be put before the Board of Supervisors there for review, hopefully take action on it next month.
Okay.
That's your motion?
That's a motion.
I second the motion.
Okay, motion made with a second. All those in favor give consent saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Okay, the
Mark
next.
Keller letter?
Yes, this is, he's announcing a grant program to control urban stormwater and improve local water quality. Just information, unless you guys wish to proceed with something else on it.
Okay. Curry County
Conservation District is the acceptance of dirt road project applications. Don't really apply to us anymore.
Not anymore.
Okay, and
Tax
then
claim sale.
there are 2 properties that are, they got a formal offer at the Tax Claim Bureau for. They're asking us if we would accept this offer for these 2 properties or refuse it. We're not going to get the whole unpaid amount. You can see what it would be, how much we would get. We would get $23.65 on one of them and $17.45 on the other, is our portion, versus the $123.20 and the $107.20.
Common sense thing is.
Take the money and run.
Take the money and run. Okay, I make a motion that we,
Acceptance, accept the bid.
accept the offer of distribution on the tax claim.
I will,
Properties.
Yep, both properties.
I second the motion.
Motion made with a second. All those in favor, give their consent by saying aye. Ayes have it, so ordered.
Cece, that is a sewer authority property, so I will pass that on.
Old business,
Okay,
PP&L grant.
this is what's tabled from last month on whether you wish to do this or not. Wanted to look at the numbers and all that.
It's an awful lot of money I've put out there just for the garage hall, is my opinion.
Yeah.
And a long time to recover.
Yes. Assuming the price will go up and we recover less.
Yeah. What is the wish of the board? Is there any comments on the PP&L grant presented to you?
I recommend we move on to the next agenda item.
Okay. Unemployment change, Helen?
Okay, back in the beginning of the year, got the information on if we wanted to change from a contribution method to a reimbursable method. It's coming up on time that we have to make a decision. We have to let PSATs know by October if we're going to change, and we have to let L&I know by December. I'm bringing this up now in case you want to think about it another month, but we'd have to make a decision in September.
We didn't get all the information that we were promised in regard to that. Okay? For the help that we were promised on, right, Helen?
That's correct.
I'd asked you to pursue that.
And I got what I could from
Okay, you
L&I
got that.
and PSATs.
Continue to pursue it, see whether the individual is going to give us some help. Okay?
Okay,
See whether we can get that. That's kind of like what we're waiting for, in my opinion anyhow. So if we can get that, I make a motion that we table for another month.
okay.
I was not contacted.
Actually, you said you were gonna contact us when you got back.
No, you said
Okay.
you would contact me.
Okay. Let's
Well,
move on, let's table
yes.
for another month, and see if we can't get it resolved for next month.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay? BC Local Planning Partnership?
Yes, this was tabled last month.
Mm-hmm. As lieu of what's been done in the past, I remember one time that we paid that fee,
Mhm.
and that's what we got out of it, money spent.
Yeah, we didn't use it.
Okay, and so we've never used it, and it only takes certain circumstances that you would make use of it. Therefore, I make a motion that we stand as we had in the past and do not participate for the $1,000 asked to be part of it.
I second the motion.
Motion made with a second. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye. Ayes have it, so ordered. Newsletter.
Okay, you guys have the draft newsletter before you.
Mm-hmm.
I will get this other little article done and email it to you, both Brian's,
Mm-hmm.
for the dumping.
Okay.
Look at it, please get it back to me by the 10th of September. I need to get it into the printers no later than the 11th, and I can do that.
10th to the 11th gives you enough time to make.
Oh, yeah, to make any
errors.
changes, yeah.
Okay.
So I can have it in time to get it in the mail for first week of October delivery. So, changes, additions, whatever you guys wish to
Okay.
do
We
that.
have new business ahead of us?
Yes,
Anything under new business?
just information because I don't have it ready for you.
Okay.
With Mr. Kelly's holding tank. No, I'm sorry, not Mrs. Kelly's, the Mount Cove Church portable John tank.
Yes.
The cleaner stated that he did not like the wording owner for, as a landowner, as the owner, he said it sounded like the owner was claiming the porta-john. So I'm gonna tweak it and give it to you guys to look at. If we wish to change it, we'll have to re-adopt the ordinance. So I'm gonna be getting that in your box this week. And it's, basically, it's only gonna be the Part B that would be changed.
Okay. I guess for the record, we did mail out to the church out there for them to forward to the cleaning agent.
Yeah.
And we kept tracking that, and the letter must have never moved. They must have either didn't understand it or whatnot. So we did a lot of legwork with Walters out there to get it back and forth, so that there is agreement here said that he will honor that.
Yes, I have a letter stating
And
that.
we got that, and so somewhere along the line, there was a glitch from them receiving the letter to forward it on to them.
Mhm.
But it is in its proper form and taken care of.
Yeah.
So, new business, I should have brought this up a little bit sooner. At last month's meeting, there seemed to be a big cry, and one more time we hear that there's possibly a need for a tax increase on the township. I never turned my back to those requests, and I'm not going to at this time either. If anybody that was involved with that or that conversation, I would be glad to make a motion that if they want to present their side of the case and show us where our township budget and our monies are in error, that we are heading down a slippery slope, I would invite gladly an open meeting, advertise to the public to bring them in so that they can present their case as to what they would need a tax increase for, the amount, and where the money would be spent for. Because if there's need for a tax increase in the township, by the incoming board or the people in advance, they need to do that and be honest with the residents out there and do that. I would never have a tax increase or propose one without having a full, open board meeting, invite the public in to explain to them what the tax increase would be for and where the money will be spent and why we have to have it. We haven't got into our CDs, we haven't got into anything like that. If and when the time comes that you do, you need to take a look at that time, why you're slipping, going backwards, and to compensate at that time, because you got a year to work with doing that before you can correct it. So I would, anybody that wants to do that and wants to do that, I would be more than glad to advertise a meeting that can be done for the upcoming budget. I should have made that offer earlier when there was more people here. That's not to push anybody out that feels that there's a need for a tax increase. Nobody's excluded that way. That being said, there being no further business.
Oh, I got something.
Oh, yes, Clifford.
I would like to address the board in executive session before we adjourn.
Sure. Okay.
I would like to just say, since you're talking about the budget, I do believe that all three of us need to be very active in the budget process this year, considering that at the end of this year, Mr. Holman will not be serving with us at this point here, not knowing his full intentions. But I believe with not knowing what's going to happen, I don't want to get caught in January without having proper service to our township. So I think we need to consider in the budget process of hiring a roadmaster that will represent our township and make sure that we continue the great legacy that you've already laid before us.
And that's exactly my intent for making that offer up there. If you're gonna do that, then you need to work that into the budget and keep it open as to what you're doing out there. The roadmaster's position out here in the road crew has been the same as it's been in the past, 2 full-timers and 1 part-timer. And we've got a lot of work done. And we've got more roads paved out there than I think we've ever seen. Take a look at what's taken place since 2010 and look at about the mileage and the amount of roads that we've paved. And you'll find that there's a record there that hasn't been met before in the township. And that's because I tried to keep things efficient, keep it moving, and make sure that there's productivity out of the road crew. That's important that takes place. Everybody's invited to be a part of the budget. I will continue to present a budget out here for the work crew out here that I've always had. Budget for the roads, proposal. They can accept or reject at the end of the year, anything that I propose. But I do hope to prepare and leave a decent turnover with full accountability of all funds and the reasoning behind it. I will offer my opinions at the end of the year on those subjects at a meeting. Okay? Nothing else? I make a motion we adjourn
Oh, executive.
into executive session.
I second the motion.
Yeah, thank you. Well,
Now we're going.
no decisions made at the executive session. Executive session pertained to personnel. Okay, I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I second the motion.
Motion made. And a second, all those in favor give their consent by saying aye. Ayes have it, so ordered. Thank you, Clifford.